That is the way we do it here. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Arvanauts, to a June 12th Tuesday stream. It is 20 minutes after 12, and this is, of course, Wilderland Adventures. It is Adventures in Middle-earth, and I hope everyone is looking forward to some fun D&D style streaming in the worlds of Middle-earth as much as I am, because I'm certainly excited about it, so I hope you folks are too. Before we get started, just a couple of reminders about ways to support the stream. If you have not done so already, please make sure to follow the stream. That is one really good thing that you can do, which is always much appreciated. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to check out the various things that you can do about the past broadcasts in the stream. !ArvTube will get you there. !ArvCord will get you over to the Discord channel where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. !ArvTweets will get you over to my Twitter. I always tweet when shortly before I'm going live. And I should mention, by the way, that interest of full disclosure, I tweet about this, but I also tweet about writing. I tweet about sometimes politics, my kids, so be aware that that's me, so you're going to be getting me, all of me, for good or for bad. All of me that I revealed to Twitter, I guess. That's with !Arv Tweets. !Arv Shop will get you over to the merchandise shop where you can get a bunch of stuff relating to the Infinity and Beyond group, although there is going to be more coming there soon, including broadening this out to the Adventures of Middle-earth crew, to Esper Genesis, and to other folks as well, so you can check out stuff over there with !Arv Shop. Of course, !Arv Treon is the Patreon, currently sitting at $383.96, and you can get a lot of cool stuff there as well for you and for the channel, including Arvanaut Idol 3, about which more in a little bit. And last but certainly not least, that sub button right above the sub window will allow you to subscribe to the channel, and from there you will be able to use the channel to, you'll be able to use the emotes that you get from the channel, and we've got custom subscriber badges coming that they have provided to affiliates, which is cool. So that's going to be happening soon as well. All right, let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of... Where am I here? Where's my Wilderland Adventures? There it is. Let me get rid of that. And let me turn on that. There we go. Hi, everyone. Good to see you all. Hope everybody is doing well. What's going on, chat? How is life? Is my chat working? Good. My chat is working. I want to make sure my chat is working. I hope everyone's doing well, and I hope you folks are looking forward as much as I am to the stream to come with Adventures of Middle-earth as we continue with this group. So one note that I want to make very quickly is relating to the Arvanaut Idol 3 contest. So remember that we have a short story contest that we do on this channel. That short story contest is going to be happening later this month, but submissions are due very soon. So if you are interested in getting involved in Arvanaut Idol 3, all you have to do is submit to me a 2-page or fewer short story, which you can send to me through Twitch PM. You can send it to me through Discord. You can send it to me as a link in Dropbox. You can also send it to me on my email, which is arvanelleron@gmail.com. Any of those are fine. But again, the key is to send that off to me as soon as you possibly can, and then I'm going to use that to narrow things down to a group of semifinalists. We will have either 6 or 8 semifinalists, depending on how many entries we get in. So definitely send that off to me, and I look forward to reading those. I've talked more about this elsewhere, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it now, but I did want to mention it because Arvanaut Idol 3 is a lot of fun, and it is related directly to the stuff that we do in this channel relating to story and narrative. Quick schedule note. After Adventures of Middle-earth today, at 4 p.m., I'm going to be over at GOG for my usual show, Pen and Pixels, and I'll be doing Storm King's Thunder with the D&D and GOG crew. Then this weekend I'm going to be at Origins in Columbus, Ohio, where I'm going to be part of the Origins library. So I'm going to be talking about writing business and writing ideas. I've got a number of meetings there set up myself, speaking of writing business, but I'm going to be talking about that. I'm also going to be doing a reading as well. So I'm going to be very active. I'll be selling books too. So if you are interested and are in the Columbus, Ohio area, would love to see any or all of you. That'll be happening starting on Thursday, and I'll be there Thursday through Sunday. I'm actually getting there Wednesday night. I will probably stream either Friday or Saturday night. I don't think I'll be streaming both days, but I'll probably stream one or the other of the 2 days. I'll be bringing ArvBox with me, so I don't know yet, what day exactly, but, keep posted by checking on my Twitter, etc., and we'll be able to get that information going forward. But having said all that, that is happening later, but right now what we've got going on is Adventures of Middle-earth, and so I'm going to unmute myself so that they know that I'm done with my silly pre-show blather, and then I'm going to unmute them, and then I'm going to go over there right now, if I can find the right button. That wasn't the right button. This is the right button. There we go. And there they are the full crew is there and ready and prepared. And I think I see Trendane blinking, which means he's not frozen. Good. We were just making sure. I can never be 100% sure. But we're all back. We're back for day 23, Adventures in Middle Earth episode, Wilderland Adventures episode 4, Those Who Tarry No Longer. It is a pleasure to have the full group with me, and I'm going to start as I usually do by talking to Trendane here, right below me in the column, and asking, how are you doing, sir? By the way, one of the YouTube commenters noted that. He's like, their role-playing is so elaborate that they actually look at you during their talk. And I'm like, you mean, I was like, this Trendane always looks up at me like, wow, it's just, you feel like you were there somehow in a column of cameras. But anyway.
When long ago, when I first started doing anything on Twitch, I cannot remember the name of the guy who used to watch me over on Geek Domo's channel, but we'd be talking about Star Citizen and EverQuest Next and stuff. And where I would ask him a question, I would look over at him, and one of the guys in the audience is like, "Stop it! That freaks me out." I know you guys are you're on opposite ends of the country, but you keep looking at each other when you're talking.
It's just weird, man. You're just breaking the bounds of time and space. How are you doing, Trent?
I love it so much. Better.
That's good. I'm glad.
Better.
I'm glad.
Can we ask what happened?
Sure.
I don't know. All I knew is that there was like sudden illness or badness.
Yeah. It was right after we had finished the Rise of TM, or the 12-hour D&D stream.
Yep.
And I had been eating a lot of granola that weekend as snacks because I didn't want to have to get up and leave the table all the time. And so I figured what I was feeling was just this Brillo pad of granola moving through my intestines. And I was like, that should not still be hurting. And it shouldn't be hurting like that. And so I got to a point where I was like, is this what a heart attack feels like? This is not, I'm not enjoying this. I mean, I wouldn't imagine that I would be anyway, but, and then it would go for about 2 or 3 minutes and then it would stop. And after like the 6th time of it doing that over the course of about 5 hours, I was like, okay, I am reaching a point where I am seriously considering calling an ambulance for myself, which I do not do. I will call an ambulance if someone else is in pain, and I look at them and I'm like, no, they need to go to the hospital right now, but I won't call an ambulance for myself. So
you need to talk about that sometime, my friend.
We actually don't, because I am fully aware of what the problem is. Good.
All
right,
good.
So it was, I think, Tuesday morning, very, very early Tuesday morning. It was like 5 a.m. And I was like, okay, it's starting again. And so I sat up and I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, just trying desperately not to cry out, that I was in that much pain. And I was like, all right, as soon as this dips away again, I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to the emergency room. And about 2 or 3 minutes later, it finally diminished. I grabbed all my stuff, got dressed, and I headed out. Went to the thing and got to the ER, and they put tubes all over, and everything. And eventually the Dr. Zachariah, she came in and she was like, "You've got pancreatitis." I'm like, "Oh, good." Oh.
What?
And that's kind of what she did. And I thought you were going to say something much worse. She's like, "That's pretty bad." And I'm like, "I know it is. It's just there are worse things." And I was kind of freaking out. She's like, "Oh, it's." And so another doctor came in and said, "Your triglycerides are really high. Do you abuse alcohol regularly?" I'm like, "No." I mean, I used to, but he's like, "How long ago?" I'm like, 15 years. And he's like, "Oh, no." Like, I know it's the, And so he's like, "Yeah, we usually only see triglycerides this high with people who are habitually abusing alcohol." I'm like,
what the fuck was in that granola?
It was the granola. Hashtag blame granola.
We were going through my regular diet, and I said, one of the only things I really eat that's not good for me is ramen. I eat a lot of ramen. He goes, no, that's sodium. That's not the same thing.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. And I put so much stuff in it that he's like, no. And he starts listing through everything. And when he got to cheese, I was like, wait. Wait, I have been on a quesadilla kick over the last month where I will do a sextuple stuffed, thing where I've got what should be 6 quesadillas worth of cheese in one tortilla.
Oh, dear.
You know, and because it's melted truly cheese.
That's a quesadilla, is what that
Yeah.
is.
It's a quesadilla in. Is what it was.
Yeah.
And
So eating too much cheese gives you pancreatitis.
it will
Yes,
lead to very
butter
high
cheese. What say you?
So, well, that
Also give you gallbladder problems.
and sitting at your desk all the time and not doing anything. If you're the kind of person who typically goes out to, you know, thrash metal concerts and stuff and burns off a lot of things, then you probably won't have as much problem.
Burn the cheese.
Yes.
The cheese.
So I was basically on like a 4-day fast where I couldn't eat anything but ice chips. Which they also didn't want me to have. They were like, you need to bring it down a bit. You're practically drinking water. You're eating so much ice chips. I'm like, I don't care. And so you know, they were like, when I mean, normal, you know, triglycerides around 150 or so. I was at, you know, over 1400. What? And you know, so after 4 days, it dropped by 1,000.
Oh my
And
God.
so they're like, the doctor's like, wow. I mean, I expected it to go down, just not quite that quickly. And I'm like, happy to help. You know, when I start to heal, I heal very, very quickly.
Okay.
But it's just,
You're like a delayed Wolverine. Yes.
and they're like, yeah, kind of. And they're like, but your blood pressure's still really high. I'm like, you guys have had me on this IV for 4 days. You keep cramming all this extra fluid into my circulatory system. Of course, my blood pressure's high. They took me off of it. It dropped like 50 points over the course of about, you know, 3 hours. I'm like, see, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that, and I'm in the hospital and I can't sleep, and the guy in the bed next to me, he was the second worst thing. The worst thing was a guy in another room who, I'm not gonna do it because it'll blow out the microphone, but his only real method of communicating was shrieking. Shrieking. If you watch the Arnold Schwarzenegger Total Recall, the scene in the end when Velos Cohagen gets shot out of the pyramid mine and is suffocating on the surface of Mars. Spoilers, sorry. That scream that he's doing while he's that 10 times louder all the time.
Ugh.
And yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah.
Hospitals suck, man. I'm glad that you are back, and now they feel you know, we think you have a plan. You have an action plan.
Yeah, I mean, I just need to stop sitting around so much and be. I don't have any dietary restrictions. I can still eat the same stuff. I just can't eat as much of it as I did. They're like, oh, by the way, you're officially diabetic now too. I'm like, yeah, I knew that one was coming. You know, because that happened to my dad too. He put on a lot of weight, and then he got the lap band surgery, dropped a bunch of weight, and then his diabetes went away. So all I got to do is lose a bit of weight, I guess, and I'll be fine. So that's the trending update. As I realized, it's like, we need to get to play.
Yeah, it's okay, dude. I think I was genuinely concerned as your friend, so I have a feeling everyone was in sort of the same boat.
Friends?
Yeah,
Wow.
yes,
How long
yes,
has that been the case?
yes, yes. It happened without us noticing. Over, you know. Just sort of hit you all of a sudden. Who are you playing now that we've entered a more wonderful world where pancreatitis is never a thing?
Because we have clerics,
Right. We have Nazgul in this other world though, so I don't know. Maybe it's not a trade-off.
So I'm playing Tawny Bear the Fat. The fat but exercising. Anyway, no, Tawny Bear the Hearthminder, and he is now technically classified as a master healer, which means that anybody who basically does not work for the shadow pretty much won't attack.
Shadow.
Yep, and that's true because these folks are level 3. at the moment. They're level 3 adventurers. All right. Well, I'm glad to have you back on the mend with us, Tren. It's good to have you back, and I look forward to more sessions with you, because Tren is also going to be in our Curse of Strahd campaign, which we are starting next month. So next month,
I will be playing Tawny Bear in that as well. No,
yeah, it'll be an incredible crossover. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is nothing on this, but anyway, good to have you back, Tren. Will, you also have some changes in your life, including, look at the brightness. Now, you guys can't see this, but through the window behind him is a gorgeous view, because see, he's got a penthouse. There's so much success for Encounter Roleplay that he and his girlfriend have now moved into, the lap of luxury. So when you were landing on your custom helipad, Will, I was wondering how your life was otherwise to this point.
It's good. I went on vacation for the first time in 3 years, so I took 3 days off, and that was good. I went off to Iceland, and it was really, really expensive there. And then I was like, oh, holy shit, I have no money. So then I came to Canada.
I like that this is the order. You're like, quick, go to Canada.
Go to Canada.
Iceland is on the way to Canada. So
Okay, yeah.
And we moved into our new apartment here. We're on the 34th floor in Toronto, and it's just really nice. I've got some old friends here that I've been known through work forever, but never really had a chance to meet up with. So it's been nice to see them. And it is crazy, the difference in prices in houses from England to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So we're playing
You're talking a favorable difference?
Oh yeah. I mean,
yes, Amal. Same thing with New York too.
I mean, you moved to Toronto, which is literally, with Vancouver, the most expensive part of the entire country. If, for instance, you wanted to move to Ottawa instead, the canonically better place,
Canonically,
you could find a 34th floor apartment for a fraction of the price.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're very happy there. It's lovely. I'm no longer allowed to publicly hate Toronto, as expressed to me by certain other people on the internet. So this is me not hating it. It's great. A great city.
I can sense that. All of our economy in England is based around houses. And so the economy's fucked. And so houses cost a ridiculous amount of money. So, I'm honestly playing the same price here for a 2-bed, 2-bath, heart of Toronto, for a 1-bed, 1-bath in some village in England. It's insane. So, for me, it's like, haha, I live in luxury, and there are nice things around, and I can actually get places. So, yeah, it's a nice change from where we're at.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I'm just chilling here. I just got set up the other day, and I think this is my second stream back since the holiday. So I've been missing Middle Earth, man. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I saw you guys. I was like, yes.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm super glad. Who are you playing?
Yes, I'll be playing Robar Staunton, who's been conspicuously quiet since last time I looked.
Yeah, he was. He was definitely strong silent type last time.
Yeah. That's who I'll be playing, and I'm super looking forward to getting back into it.
Awesome. Welcome back, Will. Moving right down the line, we have, of course, someone who's also at the moment in a new place. And I was saying the first time I started, I'm used to seeing Tarry in several different kinds of hats, but all of a sudden she's just like, "What's up, Texas?" Like, I was just like, wow, this is not what I was expecting. And that, of course,
a regular summer hat.
It looks, it's awesome. It just places you for me in a line dance suddenly, and I was just trying to kind of fit that in my head.
Howdy.
This is also her third hat this stream.
Right, that's true. Actually, that's actually true. It's a baseball cap too. But well, welcome, Tarry. So this is your regular summer hat. Is that the case?
No, the difference is simply that this time I just use my phone headset instead of the large one, so I actually can wear different hats on stream. Where I don't have to worry about them fitting over the headset. So yeah,
that's true. That is a drawback. I have to wear it. I'd be wearing my Justin Timberlake hat more often, but I can't do it with the headphones. It just doesn't. I gotta use the earbuds. But how have you been, Tarry? And who are you playing today?
I have been considerably good. But yeah, like you mentioned, I'm at a different place. I'm at my boyfriend's place in the Netherlands, and so everything looks different. There's a chocolate bunny on the thing. What's it called? Cupboard.
On the cupboard, there's literally a chocolate bunny.
Yes.
Is it just waiting? It just watches over you until you eat it? Okay.
No, until it eats me, I think.
Is that how it works?
Yes. But I've been good. And I'll be playing Inge, daughter of Ida. She is a dwarf. And I just noticed that my notes for the game are still in the backpack that I need to get. I knew something was missing. God damn it. She is a wanderer, a dwarf, and a stonemason by trade. And now she is also super strong because level ups and stuff.
Yep, because level ups are a thing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of Inga's story develop. Awesome, and Inga's about to Inga's about to tell us what just happened last adventure with them in just a minute. Stuff and things happen. It was a lot of stuff. I
my notes,
and they're in my notes, which I have right here. And moving right along down the line, we have finally emerging from the internet hiatus, as she always is kind enough to do just for us, as she's buried in dissertation work, and that of course is Amal. Hello, Amal. How are you? And are you? How are you? Well, I already know how you're feeling, but are you doing okay? How's things going?
I'm doing okay. I'm at the part of the dissertation where all you want is to cosplay the person who Trend mentioned, where you just are screaming constantly all the time, super loudly. I put that on pause for the duration of this Twitch session, but yes, it is hard going. It is stressful and terrible and bad, and I'm really looking forward to immersing myself in some beautiful escapist fantasy and recalling Tolkien's words about escapism and how it's good, because the only people who want to prevent you from escaping are jailers.
Right.
So escapism, good. Dissertation. So anyway, but it is very nice to have the support and succor of my beautiful husband, who any minute now is going to bring in the oven pizza that smells amazing. You can't smell it, but it smells so good, and I'm so hungry. So I will be eating at you all in this channel. In addition to that, I am emerging from my internet hiatus on the 15th, which is in a stupid amount. That's 3 days from now.
Right.
But I'm definitely feeling the need to, the internet is like sugar, and social media in particular is like sugar. And if you go off sugar for a long time, and then you kind of need to reintroduce yourself to it gradually, otherwise your head explodes. So I'm thinking about how to sort of come in for a gentle social media landing, and not in fact blow the top off my head. So I really want to have some kind of structure in place, like no social media until after dinner or something like that.
Yes.
I don't know. But I need some more health there. But other than that, not too bad. And I've got a column coming out with the Times later this month, so you can look for that. It's about thrillers. And in the meantime, I'm playing. Ooh, here he is! Here he is! Ah! Thank you, husband. Look, this pizza materialized out of nowhere.
Wow, look at that.
Ah, I'm so excited. I'm sorry, Trend. It's covered in cheese.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I can have cheese. I just have to go and walk.
Look at it.
You can have actually, that's a good idea. If you go start now, you can walk to to Ottawa and take some pizza, and it'll be perfect by the time you get there.
Maybe a bit cold. I'll just reheat it for you.
Yeah.
Anyways, I am playing a woodsman of Rosgobel named the River. River is a warden who is now also a herald, and I'm very excited and she is always accompanied by her faithful hound Stone, who I always forget to mention, and feel terrible about that, because she would never forget to mention Stone.
You feel more terrible because he always forgives you for doing that. So you're always just like, oh man.
It's true. his beautiful doggy face, just always looking up lovingly like that dog with the cone on him from Up, except he's, enormous and shaggy and
yes, and
poundy.
And can take down orcs when need be. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Well, it is a pleasure to have you back. I'm actually I just pulled this out. This is going to seem very odd, me showing a book to someone who has published more work than I and has won a Hugo, which I have not. But nonetheless, I'm going to show on stream. This is The Problem in the Middle, Liminal Space in the Court Mask, which was my academic book that came out of my dissertation and which has a second edition coming out from Clemson this fall. And they reached out to me. So the reason I'm showing this to you is just to prove that I did something with this freaking beast that I hated when I was doing it. And despite being in my pajamas when I was writing it, things do happen with these things, like, and that it even got cited in studies in English literature. It happened. So I'm just letting you know that that will happen for you as well. And I'm only doing it in that context because that's the one thing that I have writing wise done that you haven't yet regarding this.
Sure.
So
I would really love a copy of that, by the way. It sounds like it would be my jam. So
oh, sure. I would be happy to do that. They literally are releasing a new one in the fall, which was really cool. They have a whole new cover and a hardcover. They're working with Cambridge UP now. So they contacted me and they're like, we would like to do a new edition. And I'm like, what do I have to do? They're like, well, just a new prologue. That's all. And I was like, outstanding. I would be happy to do that. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, but I was showing that to you because it happens, Amal. Just it will at some point in the future.
Thank you. I knock on all the wood.
On all the wood. So let's get into it, folks. Let's get into the escapism of Middle Earth, where heroes can be successful at times. So I want to set things up a little bit for people. This is episode 4, which is Those Who Tarry No Longer. We are now over halfway past we are halfway into beyond halfway in Wilderland Adventures. To briefly summarize what happened, we have just concluded the fellowship phase. During the time of the fellowship phase, Tani and the River worked together as they did in the last fellowship phase. Tani was attempting to gain Bjorn as a patron and did so successfully. Bjorn and he exchanged some information regarding their fighting in war, their belief about combat and so forth, and so they ended up coming to an understanding, let's say. In the meantime, the River was trying to open Bjorn's house as a sanctuary, which she was successfully able to do. But she was visited by a very strange dream, a dream which was troubling, that brought her to a place called the Isle of Strangling Trees in the middle of the Great River. And as she went, so she was troubled by this and wanted to find out what had happened. In the dream, she actually went all the way to the isle, went into this place, there were these ruins, went down into the ruins, and then this creature basically reached up and grabbed her. She went and visited it in the daytime once she woke up, with Tawny Bear accompanying, and when they went there, they discovered the dead body of Fennis, I believe, a boy that she had helped before. I believe it was Fennis, right? Or am I wrong? Is that wrong?
That was during the dream.
That was during the dream. That's right. I'm sorry. During the dream, it was Fennis. I beg your pardon. They found out later, though. This is right. Well, they found out later that Fennis had actually died in an accident. A messenger came to tell them this. And in the actual real life, what they ended up discovering was this strange, I believe it was a hand, if I'm not mistaken, these strands of mummified hair. And I believe there was already a mummified head that you had found previously. But you found these strands in the same place where in the dream they had been attacked by Fennis. And so this was very troubling to them. They ended up going over to the Easterly Inn, where, as I'll talk about in just a minute, Inga and Robar had been, and wanted to find out information about their companions. And this basically led them on to where they're about to meet up with the rest of the party, which is right on the western edge there in the eaves of Western Mirkwood. In the meantime, while they were doing this, still by the way, still this whole dream thing has them quite justifiably freaked out a little bit as to why this happened, and more information about that may or may not be forthcoming over the adventure to come. Meanwhile, Robar and Inga were trying to track down information about Robar's family. This mysterious woman had left information for Robar, and Robar has basically been trying to discover since several fellowship phases ago why it was that on his old ancestral home, which he had abandoned many years ago, now there was this hut and what looked like the beginnings of possible new construction materials and things like that, and stuff that surely wouldn't have existed given the fact that his family isn't there anymore, as far as he understood. With some prompting and a little bit of help from Dodie, very little, they managed to get information about this person, and they ended up heading up towards Black Tom, who is a relatively well-known farmer in the region who supposedly had information about where this mysterious lady had gone. But on while they were on their way up there, they heard this terrible shouting and shrieking, maybe not quite like Trendane's hospital person, but definitely a lot of shrieking and screaming and battling coming from their east, coming to the east of them. So they went over to investigate. They discovered several orcs that were dead. Then they found a lot more orcs that were dead. And finally, they found themselves at the western eaves of Mirkwood, where they encountered someone. And here, I will allow Inga to explain what it is that happened from there. Do you remember?
Wait, from when we like passed the woods, yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so basically, first of all, we found like something, like some, what did we find again? Something glittering was like in the grass, like a stone, I think.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Yep.
For like we found that one and we had no, like neither of us had an idea what that thing was.
Right.
So we moved on, and at some point we heard like the sounds of battle, like coming from the east.
Yep.
From the corner, like from the border of the woods. And so Robar actually insisted that we go check that out because Inga didn't care enough anyway. So it turned out apparently that the elves of Mirkwood were in battle with a band of orcs who had come from farther away than usual. Mm-hmm. And one of them, one of the elves we met was Galleon, who we met like way in the beginning when we just started out. He was one of the elves who helped us get through the Mirkwood in the beginning.
Yep.
And Galleon was then like, hey, you should like come back with us because I have a job for you. Like, and we had to come along because we didn't get a say in that. And then we were greeted by two illustrious figures. One of them was none other than Legolas, son of Thranduil. Mm-hmm. And he was accompanied by one of the Noldor, Imre, is that how you say her name?
Irame.
Irame,
yes.
Yes. And yeah. And now we were like asked to escort her to I think the like most western shores, like through like that's right.
Yeah, they were you don't know yet actually. The only thing that she told you was that the lady has requested that you bring her the rest of the way. She's journeying to the High Pass, which basically crosses over the mountains heading towards Rivendell, etc. And presumably eventually, Grey Havens, etc. But at the moment, though, she just wants you to bring her to the High Pass. And Legolas actually is the one who has requested that you bring her the rest of the way. And so as we begin the discussion here, the two of you, Robar and Inga, are standing talking. The River and Tani are not there yet, but you're going to be there soon. Actually, I shouldn't assume that you're going to be there. I'm not going to assume, but I have a guess that you will, and we'll figure out why in a minute. But first, let me deal with Inga and Robar. So you two are standing there looking at her, and again, I'm going to put up on OBS here again what she looks like. This is assuming that I have... Oh, it's because I moved it. I was like, why is it not in the spot where it's supposed to be? Hold on. Here's this. And there we go. Okay. There she is. So I've just put up on OBS a picture of Irame. So again, the other one is sort of young and confident and brave, green and brown, a bow upon his back. That is, of course, Legolas, who's the son of Thranduil, the Elven King. And this is this woman who, this female elf who wears a gown of shimmering white and these cloud gray silks. And upon her finger, there is a ring which glimmers with its own inner light, as Inga said, one of the Noldor, of which only a few remain in Middle-earth. So I want to make clear, now you folks already know this, but for people who don't know, this is not just another elf, okay? First of all, elves are unusual by themselves, but one of the Noldor is one of the few people that actually remain, and as she speaks to Legolas, she is clearly speaking in the ancient tongue. Robar, you have a sort of momentary stirring of a memory, and you actually remember, and I believe this is a number of sessions ago, but it was several episodes ago, when you were traveling south, and you remember that you had an encounter where you actually heard elves singing from the west. This faintly reminds you of that, not just the language that they're speaking in, but the experience. It's a little uncomfortable, but of course the elves, as you know, as one of the Dunedain, are fundamentally good creatures, but there's a discomfort about it, and there's a sadness about her expression. And of course, if she is one of the Noldor, it means that she is ancient indeed, although she looks, of course, young and fair. So Legolas has just said, she would like you to escort her the rest of the way. And so we're going to start an audience here. And so I want to ask how you two are going to handle this. You've just heard what Legolas said. What do you folks want to do?
How far away is the high pass from where we are right now?
It's a fairly good distance. If you look at the map that I have up there, you'll see that you folks are up here, which is by this elven path. So you're going to have to go south. That's probably a good week anyway. Maybe not so much. Maybe about 3 to 4 days at least to get down here. And then it'll be another 3 to 4 days, maybe almost 5 days to get over to the high pass. So we're talking about probably 10 to 11 days, depending on weather conditions, etc.
Okay. I look to Inga. It's not like we've got anything else we need to be doing. You're muted.
Oops.
I was like, what?
I thought you were gonna go look for your family, but
Well,
I don't mind either way.
this seems like it might be a little bit more pressing, by the sounds of things.
To you, really. Like Inga looks like really out of her like comfort zone here. Surrounded by all these elves.
I mean, it's not every day that a elf such as this one asks you to take another elf to a location that we haven't been there, but we've been around there. We know the area pretty well. And, you know, I've waited 20 years to know what's going on in my family. I could wait another couple of weeks.
Fine then. Good for me.
You
And
seem like you don't want to. Your words are saying yes, but your everything else is saying no.
Well, like my preferred thing is like to just get out of here, but yeah.
I mean, we could say no.
Like you said, we don't have anything better to do, so might as well.
as you're talking, by the way, Inga, as both of you are talking, you notice that Irame is looking at you sort of steadily, and her gaze is very discomforting. It feels almost, it's like the famous, they're staring into my soul. It feels as if, as she's looking at you, as if she's almost reading. She doesn't say anything. She's just there impassively. But it feels as if she's just listening into your private conversation, maybe even your private thoughts, Inga, as she does this. And Robar, as you do this, thank you for the resub nonstop, by the way. 10 months. Thank you, man, so much. Really appreciate it, dude. As you're doing this, Robar, you also, when you mention your family, her gaze, Irame's gaze, focuses upon you. And she sort of looks at you, and you almost wonder if she might have tilted her head slightly. Again, she says nothing, hasn't in fact said anything from the very beginning. It's been Legolas who's done the talking. But she seems to be measuring you somehow, or at least waiting to see what your reactions will be. And Legolas, who stands apart, finally says, I hope you have come now to an equitable conclusion. The lady needs to get where she must, and in the meantime, I am concerned. The longer that we wait here, the greater the chance the orcs will cause more mischief. I am troubled that they attacked us at all.
Agreed. It looks like we're gonna take her there.
All right. When was we?
My companion here is not feeling at home in such lofty company. Isn't that right, Inga?
Yes.
So we'll be on our way as per your request.
And so Legolas nods, and he says, he sort of walks forward a few steps, drops his voice a little bit, and says, the lady is traveling to the hidden valley of Imladris. And he looks at you, Inga. That is Rivendell in the common tongue. She has sent word ahead of her coming, and riders were sent out from the last homely house to meet her at the crossing of the mountains. We are to bring her from the edge of Mirkwood to the high pass, where those riders should meet her. I am grateful that you will be accompanying us, but I must tell you, the lady bears with her this unwanted attention, I will not hesitate to strike down any who oppose her. I ask that you do the same, since you have been honored with this. Now, his words honored don't seem to be like, we're awesome and you're not, but he just seems to be very much like laying out kind of, just be clear what we're after here, sort of eyes on the prize type of thing.
Yeah. Robot will say, I understand. Anyone that gets in the lady's way won't be standing there for long.
And he nods and he says, good. I'm glad you understand. It's just the two of you then? There are no others to your company?
There are a few friends of ours, but they might be hugging trees or talking about their feelings. I don't know.
He nods and he says, strange indeed are the ways of mortals.
What he meant to say, we split up a few days ago, and we've been meaning to meet up again once we concluded our own businesses. But
he says, oh, yes, well. Okay, so he says this, and Irame steps forward for the first time, and she casts back her veil and reveals this beautiful, ageless face. And she says, I am Irame of the house of Gilgalad, Elan Silaluma Nomenti Elvo. As she speaks there, her voice is beautifully musical, and it is as if the air stills a little bit to allow her room to speak. You've had the experience, of course, of dealing with elves in the past, including in the Elven King's halls, but this is different. You have seldom had the experience of being close to someone who even the elves revere and are silent next to, and that is the experience you have. There's also this feeling of sadness that kind of suffuses her, almost a kind of melancholy, maybe, that sort of sinks over her. And yet she is beautiful for all that. And she says that with the veil, and then gradually sort of lowers her veil again and steps back. And Legolas waves, and I mentioned that there were all these elves like right around you may remember, that were just sort of surrounding, and they all kind of like, again, materialize out of nowhere. And with you at the front, they nod in the direction that you're going, and you folks set off. I want to jump us forward.
No, wait.
Yeah, go ahead, Inga. Go ahead, sorry.
Before they leave, like, Inga actually is like, wait a minute, why do we need to escort her? Why don't, like, I mean, you seem to have all these soldiers around. Why do you need some outsiders to escort her?
And Legolas shakes his head and he says, the lady believes that the fate of our journey will depend upon more than just our own people. She has also said that the fate of more than just elves will be at stake within this world in the years to come. When we heard of your arrival and when we saw you, she said she had foreseen the presence of others that would join, those not of our race but of others, and that we must work together against the common foe. I will admit to preferring that we remain with our own company, and he kind of, draws himself up a bit, but the lady insisted.
We consider ourselves friends of elves.
And and he sort of nods and he says, "See," he said, "I hope you will continue to conduct yourself that way." And Inga, you catch sight of Galleon, and Galleon kind of smiles at you, as you know, you've always had a good relationship with him. Smiles at you. Legolas, of course, is also the son of a king, and he seems distant and aloof. Again, not exactly a jerk, but sort of like slightly suspicious, perhaps, of those that are not elves, might be the good way to describe it. Inga, did you have anything else?
No, I'd just like to imagine like that the second Robar said, like, we are friends of elves, that Inge was about to object, and like Robar just like put his head
I'm not. That's funny. Yes. So they sort of, kind of look at you. Now, they travel sort of in a group around you. There are several scouts that go forward. But Irame has the two of you fairly near her, actually. Sort of, you're not exactly in the vanguard of this small group. But you're far enough forward that you can actually see what's happening. And of course, as you pass out of Mirkwood here into the lands right here, and begin to head south again, you begin to see, again, some of these corpses that you passed, these corpses of orcs as you went by. And you can see the elves are constantly sort of scanning the horizon to see if there's any more details of creatures that might be around there. I want to jump forward about to the next day, actually. So I'm going to place you folks right about here. Both, I want to jump down to the River and to Tawny Bear and Stone. So River and Tawny Bear have been traveling north from the Easterly Inn since hearing about the where they thought their friends might be, and also hearing information about, sort of following in the tracks of their friends. And early in the morning on the day after you left, so very early, like just the sun has just risen, you may or may not see something. So I want to have both the River and Tawny Bear make perception checks for me, please. All right. Oh, I never put the dice roller up. Where's my dice roller? Properties. Good. There we go. Okay. So, we got a 10 and we got a 9. You, as you're sort of looking around, you don't really catch sight of anything immediate. But there is a moment as you're walking along, you're passing past what looks like almost like this sort of high grass. The Anduin, of course, is over to the west. The river's to the west. And to your east, in the distance, for a fair distance away, is the very western edge of Mirkwood. But you're passing through what feels like this very tall grass. And then emerging around you, almost out of nowhere, you hear this like that quietly, and then there are several arrows. You hear the sound of bowstrings being drawn taut, and they are held at your backs, and two elves in front of you, clearly elves, rise out of the grass and step forward. And one of them says, "Hold. What is your name, and what is your business here?" Muted, River.
Sorry. The River looks at Tawny and just kind of steps forward, having dealt with elves before, and says, "I'm the River of the Woodsman of Roscobel, and this is my companion Tawny Bear of the Bjornings, and this is Stone. Is that all right?"
And they sort of look you up and down, and the one who stopped you said, "We had heard tales that you might be heading in this direction. You must come with us. There are several here who would speak to you."
I didn't realize that we were so well known. Did you know that, Tawny?
No.
We will gladly accompany you. We are in fact searching for our friends. Perhaps you've seen them? They're Dunedain traveling with a dwarf.
And the one sort of who stopped you looks at you, then sort of gazes at the others, and then looks back and says, This is not a discussion that we should have here. You will see for yourself who it is that awaits you.
Please lead the way."
And so he gestures behind him, and they move off. And probably about maybe 20, 25 minutes or so, as you go over the horizon, you see two familiar figures. And you also see that they are surrounded by a group of elves. Like these, they have arrows and bows. They're dressed in greens and browns. They look to be very impressive elven warriors. But in the middle, there is one, what looks like an elven maiden of some kind, with this veil over her face, and also a proud-looking warrior type who is near the front of this group that stands waiting for you. And in the middle, what looks very much like a Dunedain and a Dwarven Wanderer that are familiar with you. And Robar, Inga, you see Tani and the River and Stone coming, and vice versa. And they bring you up to next to each other.
Well.
Well met. We were seeking you not here. we were I guess, I mean, I knew that Dindy's information was unreliable, but we were going over to Black Tom's to find you.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense. But no, we're here. And just the way you caught us, actually, because else we would have been elsewhere.
Oh.
So your timing couldn't have been better.
I see you've made some new friends.
That's right, Inga. We have, haven't we?
River is like smiling a bit at Inga, but also just sort of trying to keep it cool, as she is trying to not be super dazzled by the presence of this many elves of different degree and stuff all in one place. And says, may I trouble you to introduce us?
Sure. This is Legolas and Ibramail? Did I say that right?
Irame.
Ibramail. Are they standing close by?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, what did you say? Are they standing?
They're like close enough for us to be like,
yes.
Hey,
yep, they're actually right behind you. And so Tani and the River, you actually see more or less what I described previously with Inga and Robar, in that the lady in the veil just seems to be gazing at you quietly, silently, but very penetratingly. The gaze sort of seems deeply invested in what you might be thinking. The other one next to her, Legolas, bows slightly when Robar introduces him and says, "Yes, your friends told us that we would find you, hopefully would find you somewhere along this route. You have been asked, your friends have been, to help escort the Lady Irame to the last homely house, specifically to the High Pass, whereupon she will be greeted by several elf lords from there. We have had some difficulty with orcs. It was the lady's will that she be escorted by these two and their friends." And he says, "However, they have agreed to commit themselves to this journey. You have not. It must lie in you whether or not you wish to accompany them."
Quick pause. I've now forgotten what business we were on. We were looking for the others in order to tell them about the creepy stuff. That's what it was,
Yep,
right?
that's exactly right.
So also about River in this moment, you know, like the cartoon star eyes that people get like on Steven Universe and stuff? Yeah. She basically gets those cartoon star eyes, turns to Tani with them, trying to keep it cool, and says, well, yes, I think that would be, I would be willing to do that. Would you, Tani?
I am a bit curious as to which route you plan to take.
And Legolas says, "Our path lies south, along the river to the old ford. From there we cross over and take the road to the High Pass. It does make us somewhat more predictable in our patterns, but it also means that we will travel in lands where more of our people and others friendly to us will be able to watch, and it will make it more difficult for those who might pursue us to be unnoticed. Previously, we think these creatures came into our own forest attempting to attack us secretly. That secrecy will be taken away if we remain in the open."
You've been attacked. Seems unusual. Well, River's just kind of muttering to herself.
Creatures grew bolder.
Huh.
So we could do with your assistance on this journey.
We have strange intelligence to share with you as well. Oh, there's so much to say, but perhaps we could discuss it as we journey. Our goal now was only to find you and to share what we've learned. There've been some dark tidings and strange things happening farther north. Wait, farther north? Were we north? No, we were south. We were south, farther south.
Well, I'm sure that dire news can wait until we've done the prince's command.
It would be an honor to travel with you, she says to the elves.
Are you directing that to anyone in particular, River? Like, in other words, the elves generally, or Legolas, or Irame? I'm just curious.
I think she'd be looking to. I was assuming Legolas and Irame are sort of standing together, so
more or
she'd be
less
addressing them as a unit.
Okay. So Legolas looks at Irame, and Irame sort of nods to you. And as I mentioned before, she raises her veil and says, "I am Irame, of the House of Gilgalad. Your friends have chosen to accompany us. I thank you for your willingness to do the same."
Just sort of completely unbidden, like as if it was just like a response to a call in a song. She says, "Gilgalad was an elfin king. Of him the harpers sadly sing. The last whose realm was fair and free between the mountains and the sea. That Gilgalad."
And she nods.
Sorry about her.
Legolas. Legolas looks vaguely sort of annoyed. And opens his mouth as if to speak, but Irame doesn't stop him. She just kind of vaguely looks in his direction and immediately stops. And she says, "It is a song of the truth that happened, yes." And she says, "But that house was long ago. There is no returning to it now."
River bites her lip and drops her head.
She also, Stone, who's sort of been by your side, Irame looks down and kind of holds out her hand, and Stone goes over and just immediately lies down, just like straight, lies down. And she kneels down and kind of brushes his fur, and then she whispers something that you can't hear into his ear, and he looks up and stands up and then turns and goes next to you, kind of nuzzles you, but he seems quieter, as if he's just, at peace somehow. And she then nods to Legolas, and Legolas says, "Very well. Now, I would like here, I'm going to ask Will to make the results check here for the audience, because Will did most of it. However, I'm going to give him an assist based on the river here. So let's see. +2. So let me figure out the +2 as well. Okay. All right. So I'd like you to make the audience check here, and it's going to be at +3. So again, the way that you do this is going to be, let's see, so she's already this thing. So you're going to be making a traditions roll for me, and you're going to be doing it at +3.
Okay, so I have a 4, so plus Regulus roll is a 19.
Okay. That is very, very solid. Hey, what's up, Tornbow? Okay. So, Irame says to you, Robar, she says, "I have seen many ages upon this earth, and so I think have you. I wonder if the weariness weighs as heavily on your inside as it does on your outside."
It does.
And she says, "You may, I think, find peace in the end, if you are willing to put up with disruption and conflict to get there." She said, "I would, though, that you remember not only your past, but your present. It is the only way to trace a path to the future." And then she looks to you, Tawny, and she says, It is well that we have a Bjorning with us. Not for many ages have I been in the company of some with your strength and might, and she sort of looks at you, and a commitment to not using them, I think. You would heal rather than hurt. Is it true?
It is.
And she nods and she says, good. If all were as engaged in healing. And then she sort of trails off. Even Legolas here, despite his skill, would, I think, put it aside if peace were in the offing. And Legolas sort of says nothing. And then she looks at you, Inga, and she says, and you, Dwarven Wanderer, you carry a weight upon you as well. It is a weight that you bear all the more despite the strength of your axe. And she sort of looks at it and sees, she says, several notches I see. Have you fought from desire or necessity, I wonder?
Desire. Why do you ask?
And she says, I wondered what...
Wait. No, wait. What were the options? Sorry, I think I mixed up the words.
Desire or necessity?
Necessity, sorry.
Okay. I was going to say, I was like, I would have gone...
No.
She says...
I was there, too.
Necessity, she says...
Yes, I'm sorry.
And she says, I see. Indeed, loss does sometimes require a necessary response. She says, have you let the cuts of your axe hurt your enemies or also yourself? Will you heal from those cuts, I wonder?
Like, Ingrid just, like, stares at her speechless, like she literally does not know what to say to that.
She leans down and she speaks in Lilliman's ears. And she whispers something into Lilliman's ear, something very quietly. Again, you can't hear it. And then Lilliman sort of nuzzles her and then goes over to you, Inga, and kind of nuzzles your side and is quiet. And you feel kind of a peace. You often can feel Lilliman's... You've had this experience of feeling sometimes for Lilliman's heartbeat. And her heartbeat is very slow and steady. His heartbeat is very slow and steady as he stands next to you. And lastly, she turns to you, River, and she says, and you, the young and the eager of the woodmen, so fast your lives are measured, and yet so slow your understanding. But not, I think, for you. And she kind of tilts her head slightly. I think the poem you read to me, the song that you spoke, it is not your first song, is it?
No, my lady, it isn't.
And she says, I hope that I will be able to hear that singing later in our journey. It would do good to hear a faster tune to the slowness of the melody that has carried me for these eons.
River is struggling not to flush to her ear tips, but just nods and says, it would be my honor and pleasure.
And she nods, and Legolas says, my lady, if you will, we should continue again. The orcs. And she nods, and she says, yes, we should, I think, perhaps stay somewhat separate from the road if we can. Legolas has told me that they are likely to watch here. I think we will encounter our destiny wherever it is to be encountered. But he has counseled caution, and I agree with him. And so basically what they explain is that they're going to be slightly off the main path, still more or less going directly south. In fact, it will probably lead you past Bjorn's house, not too far away from Bjorn's house, but not right next to the river. And that is sort of the route that they take. And unless anyone has any questions or wants to say anything else to them, we can start along that path. But if you folks have anything you want to say to each other first, you certainly can do that as you were about to set off.
Robar looks quite troubled by what she said. But will as ever, keep moodily quiet to himself about that.
Okay.
River looks just has gone from being like really excited to being kind of more quietly starstruck and just would she? I'm assuming that she would know the difference between wood elves and the Noldor.
Yes.
Is that an assumption too far?
Yes. No, I think that's fair. Certainly, she's never encountered anything like this Noldar for sure. And in a way, the roots of the songs come from them even more than the elves, you know.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I think she's gonna say like to them in quiet, like, I've never met someone who seemed like they just stepped out of a song before. Not even, I mean, Bjorn, you know, meeting him was like legend come to life, but here, this is, I don't know, it's like a star walking on the earth. I don't know, what could she even be doing in this part of the world?
I don't know. But she said that she wanted to travel with us. I think specifically the relations between elves and the other races of this world needed to be stronger. I guess we've done a fair bit of dealing with different kinds of people. Maybe that's why she wants to travel with us.
I've heard it said before that sometimes elves have foresight of doom to come, or of meeting people for the first time doesn't always seem like it because they've met them in dreams or far seeing before. Maybe it was something like that. Maybe there was something of destiny or fate at work here.
Speaking of that, what was it that you found or found out about?
Oh, speaking of dreams and strangeness, you remember Fennis, the young man who was with the bandits, and then I sent him away to my people.
Of course.
I dreamt that he was in a sucking bog of some kind and dead. And then the next morning, Bjorn gave us news that he had died. And the dream was very strange. It seemed like it chased me into waking, and where I had dug my hands in the earth in the dream, there was dirt beneath my fingernails when I woke. And so Tawny and I went to the place in the dream and to the spot where I'd seen Fennis's body. And we found evidence that someone had traveled out of Mirkwood. Leaves, you know, you only find in Mirkwood were there, but also strands of hair, like from that head, that shrunken, terrible head that Inga found. It was as if dark magic had been worked on that spot to find the hair just exactly where I'd seen him in the dream. And I don't know yet whether they have anything to do with Fennis's death. I don't know how he died, but I thought that we should just compare notes and see where those horrible black magic things were coming from.
That speaks to me of darkness.
There was something of shadow all around that place. It reeked of it.
I think before we traveled with you, the three of us had encountered a creature of shadow in a bog. It doesn't sound dissimilar to the one you just described. It was killing goblins and orcs around the area, but it was tangible proof that there was shadow. They were walking around and preying upon those who came into its lair, so it wouldn't surprise me if there's more of them. Perhaps something is awakening them. Either way, we've got to get this lady's Lahai pass.
Did you make any headway with your own journey to learn more about your family and everything?
No. And
Only. Oh, all right. Okay. River looks like she's going to say something further, but just doesn't.
Yeah, he looks super uncomfortable.
Yeah. All right.
All right. What I will need now is we are embarking upon a journey. So I will need us, as is usually the case, to assign roles. Now, just as a quick reminder to everyone who has not seen this before, this means that we take a guide, a scout, a hunter, and a lookout. A guide is in charge of decisions concerning the route. The scout is in charge of setting up camp, opening new trails. Scouts rely on stealth and investigation. The guide, I should say, is partially directed as well in this particular case by the elves. So, if the guide's like, nope, we must head directly into Mirkwood from here, like the elves are probably going to be like, no. So there's going to be a little bit more direction than there might otherwise be. But so Inga is going to be the scout here.
Yes,
okay.
because now she is specialized in that direction.
She's super scouty.
She's literally a scout now.
Also, Echo points out that you're perfect for it with the hat. So you definitely have, like, this guy, like, I'm ready to go. All of a sudden, she becomes Sam Elliott. It's like, well, ma'am, okay. So...
the guy who, like, always sounds like he's speaking with marbles in his mouth?
Well, Sam Elliott always speaks a lot like this. He's quiet. He actually talks in the famous movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. I love me some Sam Elliott. He's also in The Big Lebowski, but that's not her.
Yeah, so this is the guy, like the Masters guy, right?
Well, bye. Yeah, Big Lebowski. Anyway, okay, so we've got Inga at Scout, but we still need the guide, also the hunter who relies on success. I think you did that, Tani, or am I mistaken? Were you doing the hunter?
Trout, yeah.
Are you doing that again? Yeah. Okay.
I'll be the guide if we don't have one yet.
What were the stats that you need for those?
The hunter relies on success with survival checks. The guide relies on wisdom and survival. And the lookout relies on their abilities in perception.
I do have higher survival than perception, but I think I'm happy with either.
Up to you guys. How you want to do it?
I've got a +6 on survival, so
That's higher than I've got a 4 survival and a 3 perception.
As the class that I'm playing, I believe I can fill in any roles that we don't have.
That's right, if need be. Yeah.
So yeah, I could be the guide because I think I get bonuses for being the guide.
Well, and I mean, you probably know this area the best.
Yeah, I think I'm trained in these areas.
Okay, and that would leave the river. That would put the river as the lookout.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Sorry, lookout. That's the one I meant. Yeah.
Lookout, and also just a quick note for all of you: your first skill checks. This is for all of you. Your first skill check, you will get advantage because you've done this before. Specifically, actually, let me rephrase that. The people who've done this before, they have Leaves and Stewed Hobbit. Actually, okay, so believe it or not, the only one who is not going to get this advantage is the river because she actually joined after this part. Tawny Bear, Robar, and Inga were all traveling this particular route, river, so that's why. Okay. So they happen to know this particular route, so they will get advantage for this one. Nothing personal. This is just the particular thing that happens on that one. So, okay. So that's the deal. The peril rating for this is not particularly high because this is, fairly well known. Nonetheless, a journey is a journey. So what I will need here for the embarkation roll is I will ask the guide here, I believe it is the guide, to be doing, okay,
D12.
Yeah, it's a D12. There we go. Yep. So you're making a D12. Now it's going to be modified by your survival proficiency bonus plus half your wisdom minus 1, which is the peril rating of this journey. So 1d12 plus your survival proficiency plus half your wisdom bonus minus the 1.
Okay, so just my proficiency bonus, or is it the +5 that I have in survival?
It would be your proficiency bonus because that's what you had. No, well, it says survival proficiency bonus, so I would say +5.
Okay. So 1d12 +5 +3, which is my wisdom, minus 1.
You're doing half of the wisdom though, so you don't get a +6, right?
Yes, round
down. So 6, right? Minus 1. So +5 total.
Math. 8.
8. All right. Let's see. Okay. Alrighty. So, as you begin your journey, you are greeted by a beautiful sunrise that raises your spirits and fills all who see it with hope for the day ahead. Maybe it is the fact that you're traveling with the elves, or the calmness of the animals with Stone and Lillimon. But the wind seems to be just kind of a light breeze. There are clear, bright skies, sort of these majestic, as you can see off, you can really see almost in the distance, maybe the misty mountains, or at least the very edges of them. And so the result of this is going to be that when you accrue an exhaustion point, if you accrue an exhaustion point, you do not accrue it. So 1 exhaustion point is not accrued as you set out for your journey. Okay, so let's take a look and see what it is that you encounter. As you begin to travel down, and I'd like everybody to move themselves here to about, let's move your tokens down to about here. So you're sort of drawing next to Bjorn's house. As you sort of reach that area, Irame, who is walking next to you, says, "I have known men like Bjorn in the Second Age. They were dear to Arame, he who the Northmen called Bema, and they learned secrets from his servants. He was mighty indeed," and she sort of nods, "but in his own way, so distant, so separate from himself, perhaps." And she kind of looks at you in particular, Tawny, as she's kind of saying some of these things. And she looks over to in the distance where the river is, and she says, "Have you all traveled on that river before?"
Oh, the other river.
Yeah, sorry. Have you, the river, traveled on the river? It's the joke that keeps on giving.
It just keeps new situations. She's addressing Connie though, right?
Oh, this one she addresses all of you.
Wait, what was the question? I sneezed.
That you traveled, have you traveled on the river before?
On the Anduin?
Yes.
Oh, yes, we did.
And she says, "How far south did you go?"
Oh god, I need to check. We went all the way down to the old fort, I think. Right?
On that, didn't we? To Stonyford? Or is she talking about like being on the river?
Yeah, on the river. Yeah, I think we went to the old fort. Like.
Yeah, not far.
And she nods and she says, "That river flows south past the golden wood of Laurelindorian." And she says, "It is a fair and perilous land. I would not travel there if I were you. You may fall into the enchantment of the Lady of the Forest, and she may keep you if she has you. You may indeed choose to stay." She seems like she's sort of looking almost past you as she talks. Like there's this odd experience that she seems to be talking to someone almost behind you, maybe. And you know, unless you like frantically look over your shoulder, there is no one behind you. But she seems to be sort of talking about something in the distance, maybe temporally and actually.
I want to know if River would know that. Because Irame is related to Galadriel. She's like her aunt or something?
Right, and is one of the firstborn, etc. Yep.
Right. I just want to get a sense of whether River would know that, because it would be strange to her that she'd be speaking of her kin that way.
Yeah, well, you wonder, well, let me see. Make an insight check. Let's see if you know why.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be lore, though?
No. This is insight because there's... well, I can't explain why it's insight yet, but let's see what the roll says. Oh, man. If only it had been... Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well. Your sense of this, River, is that there is a... She's, as I said, she seems to be speaking past you, but... Well, actually, let me see. I'm trying to think of who else... You know what, Inga? Go ahead and make an insight check for me also.
Okay. So do I get advantage for this because of like the went here before? Or is this like unrelated?
No, this is not related to lore. This is related. The reason I'm giving
screen is so tiny.
the reason I'm giving you this insight check is because there is a sort of, you have a little bit of a suspicion of all of this. Not like there's something evil, but just like what is with the freaking elves,
Evil!
man? Yeah. Evil.
What the?
Yeah, you don't know. You're
Yeah,
like,
no,
well,
sorry, just like roll 20 is being weird right now. That's why I was like, what is happening?
yeah.
Like I had to draw a line across the screen to roll my dice for some reason. Why is that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh, I see. That's like an option. Okay, never mind me.
Yeah, you don't know. There's the way, I guess the way I would describe it is, it does strike you as odd, River, that she would talk about her kin this way to you, but you don't know what to make of that. Like, you're not sure why she'd be bringing that up to you.
Okay.
Except I will say that you don't have a lot of experience with elves, but your limited experience suggests that they don't do anything without purpose. So, yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna. So, River would frown a little hearing that, and would say, "I've only ever heard fair stories about the Lady of the Golden Wood, in songs, but also in stories. Radagast the Brown would speak very highly of her."
And she looks at you, sort of the gray eyes kind of piercing, and says, "Have you indeed?" And she says, "Good. There may be some tales that are told truthfully by mortals indeed. But you must know, O man of twilight, that those who dwell in your world," and she says this to you, like woodman of twilight, she says, "yours was a great kingdom, but yours is also a scattered people who do not remember now their great works. It is through that fear and ignorance that sometimes fear of the unknown drives their steps. I spoke in part to that portion of you. I am pleased if fear does not drive you as it does so many of your kinsmen." You kind of vaguely get the feeling this might have been a test, River, but you don't know what, though.
River just kind of nods and looks sort of troubled, but also sort of just quiet, and just nods and says, "I'm glad to have pleased you, my lady."
And she nods. During this whole time, by the way, Legolas has not been near, sort of has moved off, continuing to kind of scan the road. Robar, you've noticed in particular, and maybe Inga to a degree as well, that he seems very occupied by looking to the west. He's always looking to the west over the Anduin, not towards Mirkwood, but over the west towards the Anduin and beyond it to the mountains, always scanning the horizon. If you had to guess, you would assume that what he's doing is looking for trouble from that direction. It's very much sort of scanning the danger signs that you can see, and you can do whatever you want with that, but that seems to be the case. About midday of that same day where you're having this conversation, you pause for a rest by the side of the road, and you are sitting amongst these huge boulders, like very, very large boulders. Again, you've been not right on the road, but to the side of it. And so there are these huge boulders that are near the road. And both times when you've passed, you have either not really noticed them very well, or you certainly haven't stopped to take any time there. But you definitely notice this here as well. And as you're sort of standing there, or sort of sitting there eating, Irame at one point, who is sitting by herself, but near enough where you can hear her, says, "It is so sad. So sad, do you think, Dunedain, what mannish folk may achieve in their short span of years, or the despair of how quickly they fall to ruin. You may have felt that despair yourself, as here you sit among the ruin of your own people." I'd like you to make a perception check here, Robar.
Jesus Christ, this one. Yeah, 26.
Yep, exactly. God, I love how that happens. Oh, man, so perfect. So, You realize, Rabar, as you're sitting here, that these are not boulders. As you look around, you can actually see there is what looks like perhaps the side of an enormous, like the crook of an elbow. And then you see what might be the sort of just the side of perhaps the eye of this great face. And you see that this was a great statue, probably an ancient statue made long ago by men. Your people, of course, would have seen statues like this before. In fact, in the ancient days, the Numenorians would have built statues like this themselves. And yet it has never occurred to you that this might be what you were sitting among until Irame pointed out that you are literally in the fragments of this great statue. And Irame looks at you again with this expression of sadness tinging her features.
Rabar will echo that same slight troubled, sad look on his face when he notices the statues. It is a pain I know only too well. But there's naught to do about it. I try not to think about it too much.
She says, "The things that you put to the side remain. If you place a beast within a room of your house and lock the door, the beast does not depart. It will remain rattling that locked door until it emerges. When have you dealt with the beasts within your rooms, I wonder, Dunedain?"
I kill the beasts that come into my room, my lady.
And she nods and she says, "May it be so. I fear there are some things that are not endable. At least, not through combat and violence." And she says, "Oh, go ahead."
Speak in riddles. I don't understand.
She nods. She says, "I do not mean to offend. It is my curse to speak of connections that have come for centuries before and centuries after." And she sort of trails off and looks off into the distance. I would like all of you, but I want to start with Robar to make a wisdom check for me, please.
Oh, great.
You want to save or just a check?
This is a check.
19. God damn, I'm rolling well.
Yep. I'll talk about what that means in a minute. Let me see what the others are. Okay.
17.
Okay.
13.
I saw the 3 and I'm like, oh boy. Okay. So, all of you, as you overhear this story, have the experience of there's a sort of sadness again about her, but Robar's words in some ways fill you with a certain kind of resolve, and it occurs to you that the fate of Irame is not necessarily your fate, and indeed Irame wouldn't want it to be your fate either. And in some ways it fills you with a certain kind of cathartic, almost inspiration, you might say. None of you have a level of exhaustion, so you don't have to remove that. But this is a note for the guide. You will get a +1 to your arrival roll at the end of this. And so she, Galleon, who's sitting next to you, Inga, sort of nudges you and says, "Your friend there, the one who sits always in darkness. Even when I first met him in the Hall of the Elven King, he always seemed to be a closed book. Has he ever revealed any more of himself to you?"
Not really, but I did, well, I mean, like, some things, I guess. Not sure what you're exactly referring to, but I mean, I'm not the kind to pry about things anyway, so I wouldn't know if he would tell me if I would ask.
He smiles and he says, "But you're friends, yes?"
Absolutely.
And he nods and he says, "I would there could be more friends of the dowdiness of dwarves. I fear sometimes elves remain too isolated into themselves. Though if I were to say that within earshot of the lady, or indeed within earshot of Prince Legolas, they would no doubt rebuke me. And as he says that, almost as if like on cue, like Irame's like eyes sort of move in your direction, and you swear that you were talking pretty quietly, like she probably couldn't have heard you, but so yeah, it's kind of creepy. Okay, so yeah, rip Trendane, I know. I know the pictures are messed up. Tren is having his usual day internet problems, so bear with me for just a second, folks. We'll fix it. Hello, Miranda. Just hang in there, folks, and if it doesn't resolve, I will fix it in time for Trendane to arrive and screw up the windows again. So I'll leave it as is. Yeah, I know, exactly. Okay, so all right, so the next day dawns, and you set out on your way, and probably now we're maybe about here-ish, so you folks can move yourself down. Inga, do you mind moving yourself down also to here?
Yes.
So you can move the folks down over here.
This is so much easier back home where I have 2 screens. Wait.
Yeah, I know. I feel that way whenever I'm on the road trying to stream, and I'm like, oh my god, what? Okay. So the evening before everybody, but River, I wanted to note this for you. You're sort of there around the campfire, and Irame is singing a song of Beleriand, who is drowned beneath the ocean, and she sings of the days of heroes, this kind of lilting, like this, and she does it again just by herself. There is no accompaniment there, but as she's doing this, the entire company is sort of silent, listening to her notes kind of sort of float almost through the air. I mention that because you don't have to jump in if you don't want to, but I mention it because she does seem to be singing, and it's, again, this may just be your imagination, but she seems to look at you at times when she does this.
River will, after listening for a while, not sure if it's a song that she knows or not, but she'll have listened for long enough to get the gist of it, and then will quietly, at first because she's kind of shy, try to harmonize with her, if not with the words, and with the just with the tune, sing a sort of counterpoint to it.
As you do that, you can see that Legolas seems to be very uncomfortable with this. Like, look, this isn't, you don't just start singing when the lady's singing. But he keeps silent, and as you sing, you notice at a certain point, River. Actually, make a perception check for me. Do it at +2. Hey, Demiser, what's up?
Sorry, my sheet has...
Cameras are now temporarily fixed.
Perception check, you said?
Yes. Yeah.
My rolls are awful!
You get these out of the way. It's like Robar's taking all the good ones for himself. You don't really notice anything in particular except that the harmony, the lady does not stop. As she's singing, she seems to be going along with your song as you harmonize with her. And there's a certain point where she's going along, and then she stops singing, and she's just listening to you.
Oh. Well, I mean, River would actually just probably falter and stop too at that point, because the harmony is supposed to be just a support thing, and she'll just she'll clear her throat a little and say, "My apologies, lady. Was my was my singing amiss?"
And she says, "No, Woodman of Twilight. It had put me in mind of some songs that I had many, many eons ago. It has been some time since I have heard it harmonized so beautifully, though." And she nods at you and says, "I have often wondered whether the realm of men would ever wish to work with others in their songs or their other doings. I am pleased to hear that on occasion they can."
Thank you, my lady. I always think that there is a great beauty to a single voice raised like a light in the darkness, but there's great beauty to be had too from different lights mingling together like the stars do and coming together in difference. Thank you for letting me sing with you.
She nods, and Legolas remains quiet. The elves sort of remain quiet as well. Okay, so as I said, as the day dawns, the next day, and you travel further, I would like, please, let's see, the scout. So Inga, I would like you to make a perception check for me, please.
Yes, sir. Okay, so
You might get a benefit for this because of being. Do you have? This is only lore checks that you get benefits on as a wanderer.
no. Like
Oh, because you had advantage for the skill check. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, no, but also like the bonus because we are like in the outside basically.
Right.
Natural watchfulness, double perception in the wilderness. There it is.
Okay. Well, actually, and besides that, you also got that. You got that advantage, so it would be a 21. Oh no, that was with the +2, because it looks like Tuesday.
No, like overall it's +4. That's what I'm saying.
Got it. Okay, so then you would have. So in that case, we're looking at a 21 because you're also doing this at advantage because that was the benefit that you had from having gone down here. In the distance, Inga, again, as the light has dawned, you actually catch sight of, and you can, if you wish, mention it to the elves, but you actually catch sight of what looks like a small group of creatures in the distance, the far distance, that are hurrying along. They seem to be heading off sort of the side of the road and trying to disappear into the grass. These are not elves, and you're pretty sure they're not humans either. In fact, they seem to be moving somewhat hunched over and quickly.
Most likely orcs. Okay. Wait, so am I alone right now because I'm scouting, or what is
You are right next to two elves that are with you. So basically, it's like the three of you.
I let them know immediately. Like, it looks like there's a band of orcs over there. We should notify the others.
And the elves kind of, like, one of the elves looks down at you and then looks up and then, and like speaks something in Elvish to the other one, and the other one agrees, and then like silently, like always they're doing something like this, like just sort of vanishes into the grass. And back at the rest of the camp, River and Robar and Tani, you actually, the elf appears almost out of nowhere, and speaks quietly to Legolas, and then Legolas turns and says, "Your scout seems to have discovered some unwelcome company. They are some distance from us. They are orcs, apparently. They're some distance from us, and they don't seem to have noticed that we're here. They seem to be, in fact, traveling away from us. But to have orcs this far down, this far south, is troubling to me." He says, "I would ask you to redouble your efforts. When we get to that spot, we will see if they are there. I don't wish to send any of my people after them here. I don't want to split. But I am increasingly concerned."
We can look into it.
Also, hello, Asgard Light. All right, give me just a second as I address all these windows now that Trent is back with us. Just a moment, please. Okay, right. Okay. And then this is Robar. Okay, good, lovely. There we go. And last but certainly not least, thank you for the follow. There we go. And Tani, who will be back with us in just a second, just as soon as I capture him right there. Okay. Capture. Wapam. You've been captured. Okay, there we go. Good. Why don't we keep it like this? That way we're always prepared if Trending is taken off air. Well, the reason is that when he comes in, it changes the outline of the windows. So if I keep it like that, it means that you're going to be watching him half the time, not invisible.
So what this means is...
Okay, thanks.
drop messages to the folks who make Zoom and tell them, give us the option to lock the camera positions or drag and drop.
Yes, please,
They
God.
have NDI support coming later this year. I hear.
Oh, really? Okay, because I have tweeted them at them, and like, I love Zoom, but oh my God, that would be so much better. Okay, so right. So as you continue along the way, when you get to the spot, roughly speaking, where Inga, you caught sight of the you thought you caught sight of the orcs. The elves kind of with you go over to kind of look at the area where they were, but don't see a lot of signs, except they point down to one particular spot in the grass where there seems to be a little bit of like the water table's higher, so there seems to be a little bit of mud basically, and he points and you can see what looks like half of a rather large foot that is clearly not human, the imprint of it, and he says, Nash. And that's, of course, Elvish for orc, basically. And so he looks up at you and he says, have you had run-ins with these filth before?
Yes, we have.
And he says, these large ones, these powerful Mordor orcs, they are of a different type. They do not tire, and they are considerably less affected by travel during the day. Still not as capable as we are during those times, but they are not as weak as the goblins. And he shakes his head and he says, I do not like any of this. I worry that we are walking into the jaws of a trap. And the other one says, Legolas would not have it so. And he says, even Prince Legolas cannot see all things. So there seems to be a slight dispute between the elves, although they're kind of like, they're aware that you're there, Inga, so they're sort of like, as I said to you, blah, 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 like, you know, kind of like we're sort of, they seem slightly in disagreement as they're talking to each other about the meaning of this footprint.
So, got any plan on what to do here?
And the one elf that talked to you in the first place said, if it were up to me, we would track them down and kill them where they stand. It will take the entire Anduin to rid the land of their filth. But the lady would not have it so. She does not want us to be divided. And the other elf says, and she is probably right.
Well, in that case, like, it seems obviously uncomfortable with these two, like, bashing hats very subtly.
Yes.
Well, in that case, we should probably try to avoid the orcs as best as we can, or maybe... Wait, so we do know which direction they are going, right?
Yes, roughly speaking. I mean, you'd have to go a little bit farther, but yes, roughly speaking.
Which would be like, does it like line up with our path?
No, it would be taking you off to the east. So the spot where you encountered them is, let's say, roughly, again, this is zoomed out pretty far, but like just, you know, kind of imagine. So it'd be like around, say, here, but they're not there, and the path, the footprint seemed to be leading them this way, as if they were going towards the woods. Now, again, they obviously were not aware that you were there, or they wouldn't, I mean, I don't know, maybe they would have, but they didn't seem to be like, they didn't seem to be hastening through the grass or preparing an ambush. So, you know, you're not sure why they're heading in this direction.
Well, I mean, if you were my people, I would send one of us to the Mirkwood to warn the people there of the orcs coming, and we should wait here for like a few hours at least to like have them gain some distance on us, basically, and then keep on marching to make sure that they don't notice us, maybe.
Okay.
So,
and they nod, and the one says, yes, perhaps this is true. In fact, and then he stops, and he says, drop down. He says to you, Inga.
well, Inga drops down.
Okay. Make a perception check for me, but do it at +3, because he's pointing something out to you.
Yes. So that's like +5 overall,
Yep.
right?
I think that sounds right.
Do I get the advantage too?
Not on this one. You got advantage only on the first skill check, but this is not the same thing.
Sorry, hay fever. So no advantage, right? Plus,
right.
But okay, so I'm at 14.
Okay. Oh, you just rolled that. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So 14. Yeah, so you're able to see it. He says, look, through the trees, or through the grass. And as he's pointing up, you can actually see that there are a set of, it looks like maybe 2 or 3 small, you can almost barely see them. It's almost like little kind of humps over the top of the grass. But then you can see that the humps are clearly moving. And as you sort of still your breath and just like really kind of like listen in, you hear, the truth is the filth. These do not sound like Elvish voices. There are 2 of them that are talking, and then a third one that occasionally comes in with, so there's like 2 higher voices and 1, deeper voice.
How far away do they seem?
A few hundred feet, probably.
What is that in other people?
Oh God! How many meters per foot again, or per feet per meter?
It's 3 feet per
3 per meter. So 100 meters.
Oh, that's really close.
Maybe 150.
So like Inge lightly elbows one of the elves in the side and goes like, hey, you should go check that out closer.
And the elf sort of nods and says, "Let them know," and kind of starts crawling through the grass. And are you gonna stay where you are, Inga, or are you going to try to?
Yeah, we will make like before he leaves, like Inga tells him to do the bird call thing, do it twice like a barn.
Once like a screech owl and twice like a screech owl. And hey, what's up, size 16s? How you doing, man? Could you hit them with a bow? Well, probably. Certainly. She could probably hit them with a bow.
Oh, you mean shoot them?
Yes. You could hit them with a bow as well, like wha-bam, deep bow. Okay. Anyway, so as the elf crawls away, the other elf says to you, I must warn the rest. Can you stay here and keep watch? Exactly, Elias.
Sorry, I had to blow my nose.
I like the idea that you have this hay fever in the grass, by the way. You're like, I'm sorry about that.
No, go ahead. I'll keep watch.
Okay.
Thank you for sending Kevin. He's kind of a jerk.
It's like, I never liked him. No, he doesn't say that. So he heads off in the opposite direction towards the rest of the group. I will talk to the rest of the group about what he says in just a minute. For you, Inga, you now can hear this a little bit. You can hear a little bit better now as the wind dies down slightly. You don't hear the elf moving towards them, but you do hear a little more of their conversation. And it sounds something like, "The truth is, we never should have come down here in the first place. If Norgash had done what I said, we wouldn't be here. Ah, shut your mouth. Norgash does what he wants, and that's flat. We got sent down here to get him information, you understand? He wants her. It's as simple as that. We were sent to get them, and that's what I mean to do." And then the third one says, "That's always what you're about, Norgash. Always what Norgash wants, and what he wants, as if you're close to him. If he's through with you, he'll slit your throat as much as anyone else, so don't lord it over us. You'll keep quiet, maggot, or you'll know what it means to fall before a captain." So, this is a clearly discussion between 3 people that don't seem to like each other very much.
Orcs that don't get along with each other.
Who's ever heard that before, right? Okay, at this point, so that's the conversation that you hear. Are you doing anything other than just staying where you are, Inga, at the moment? I just want to know before I jump back to the other group.
Any sign of Kevin yet?
Nope, no sign of Kevin.
Then
I've heard that there's this Kevin looking for us now.
Imagining
She's
it's
gonna
like
stay where she is and tries to gather more intel about these guys, like listening more. And
Okay. Yeah, bring it up at the union meeting, maggot. Oh man. Okay. For Robar and for Tani and for the river, you see an elf coming in, one of the elf advance guards that was sent with Inga coming in. There were 2 plus Inga, and you don't see Inga or the other one. And this elf comes in and comes up quickly to Legolas and begins speaking to him quietly. And Legolas says, as I thought. And he kind of makes a couple of gestures, and 2 of the elves to the side of the group like kind of vanish into the grass. And Legolas says to the 3 of you, the orcs that you found, that your scout saw, apparently have made their presence known. There's 3 of them, I think. And perhaps one of them is greater than the others, we will see. What do you wish to do? Your friend has remained to watch, while another one of my men is scouting out the area.
You said that anyone that got in the lady's way was to be struck down.
I did.
Let's do that.
And he nods, and he looks at Irame, and Irame seems to be waiting. She doesn't say anything. Irame looks actually at you, Robar, for a long moment, kind of holds your gaze. And then she looks at you, Tani, and then at you, River, as if she's waiting for a reply.
If we go after them, does that not draw us away from our path?
And Legolas says, it does, but not far. My concern is that they could come and attack us from the rear if we were to continue to go past them. But I will defer to the judgment of the lady, and she seems to wish to defer to your judgment.
Well, we can't leave Inga alone with them. River just looks to Robar and says, I think your experience here vastly exceeds mine, but I'm here to help however is best. I don't know.
My thought is that they're probably here for a reason. They're not just wandering around these woods, they're probably looking for her. If she's so special. Then we should probably make sure they don't get any word back to whatever masters they have.
Right.
It's likely they know we're in the area.
Alright. I'm only concerned that this is something that, an engagement that we're choosing on our own terms and not being led astray in any way. But you have my axes. My axes.
All right.
Are you taking Stone with you?
River pauses, going, if I tell him to stay here.
That always works really well.
So how far off are our people?
So they are probably maybe 5-10 minutes from here to the south. You don't know, of course, where exactly they are off the route, but I mean, they can't be too far. But yeah.
Okay. She'll want Stone to stay with the lady, I think, just in case. Like, the idea here is we are splitting a group off to go fight these orcs, right?
Apparently. Yeah, they're not... I mean, it's going to be more than just, it is a few elves that will be alongside you, but...
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm very slow today all of a sudden.
That's fine.
Pondering soliciting caffeine from my full of his best. Yeah. And so, just sorry, to recap the situation, there are orcs in the distance. Legolas wants to go fight them. A few other elves are not super keen on that.
Well, the other elves, I think, are waiting. The better way to look at it is that Legolas thinks he wants to fight them. He will defer to whatever, you decide. Irame is who he would defer to, but Irame is sort of letting you decide what you want to do. Robar clearly wants to fight them. You don't know what Inga wants, and you haven't heard yet from Tani or what you yourself decide. So
Right. So whoever looks to Tani, like, just kind of to see what his opinion is, knowing that he's probably not going to fight, but...
Where there is fighting, there is often healing to be done. That is my arena. My only puzzle is whether to wait here or to go alone. But I agree. We should deal with them. We can't let them potentially come up behind us.
All right. She looks to Legolas and Robar now and says, use me as you see fit. You have my support. I fight with axes. I don't know what if that will be of use to you here or not.
And Legolas says, if they cut into the skin of an orc, they will serve us quite well. And so he nods to another elf who sort of heads off, and he says, the elves here will head off their possible escape routes to the east, but I would ask you and your party to handle them from the west. If they run to the river, they will find you. If they run to the east, they will find us. Wherever they run, they will find their end here. And so he kind of, again, nods in that direction, and then he himself, heads off to the eastern side, apparently, to join his people, as you and Tani then, presumably, head down, and Robar head down to the south. I want to ask Inga, as you're I'm going to have you guys meet up with her in just a minute, but I'm going to ask Inga, and Inga, as you're sort of sitting there, you hear this kind of rustling in the grass, and then a second later, Kevin, in quotes, appears.
No, that is his actual canon.
That's now canon, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Kevin of the Kevin Way elves, So he crawls into the small little area where you are, and he says, "There's 3 of them, 2 small ones, and a big brute of an orc, maybe a chieftain, I can't tell. Calls him Nagrash, I think. They're pretty well armored too, from what I can tell."
Well, now we should keep an eye on them and wait until, the other guy returns. Does he have a name?
Yes, but since in keeping with the other one, Bob, we'll have his back this way.
But there already is a Bob in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, true. Then Fred.
Fred is good.
That's true. And there's also a Bill, so we can't have Bill taken by a pony. Okay.
But we do also have a Douglas who goes with Legolas quite often.
Jeez. Douglas. Oh, man. Okay, so you all find yourselves, and as you get close, you can see that there's this sort of the high grass as you sort of go into where you believe Inga was found, Robar. You actually see Inga with... the elf is actually with you, I should say, the single elf. So you've got the elf, Fred, or whatever we called him, is there along with Robar and with River and with Inga, and with Tani, and already there in this area is Inga with the other elf. They're all sort of lying on the ground, peering outwards, where you can just see these, as I described it, sort of dark humps kind of over the top of this tall grass that's waving back and forth gently in the wind.
Do I notice the guys?
I'm assuming they're not. Go ahead. Sorry, Robar. I'm assuming you're not being I assume you're being stealthy, but are you being how silent stealthy? Are you trying to I am the knight, or
I crouched, Skyrim position, but also do whatever owl whistle that we do to one another.
Okay. So you hear two houts like a screech, once like a barn owl and twice like a screech owl, Inga. and then Robar enters a moment later, followed by the river, and then the rather large form of Tawny Bear sort of dispersing the rest of the grass as you come through silently. And so you are now all together, and the elf looks up at you, Kevin looks up at you, and waits for instructions as to what they're supposed to do.
Wait, look at me or at who?
Just at all of you, the party.
Okay.
So
So how many people are we now?
Yeah.
So it's it's Kevin and Fred, and then the four of you. And Kevin and Fred were told, along with the other elves, to head off their eastern side, so to go around the orcs so that they are blocked going in the other direction.
And there
Yeah,
are 3
that's-
orcs.
Yes, 3. 2 supposedly 2 guys and one larger orc, one more fierce-looking orc.
I'm assuming orcs are not exactly known here to be stealthy, are they?
No, not particularly. They can be. They can try to be quiet, but they're not particularly great at it.
No, I'm just like thinking like how likely it would be for like some orcs hiding in the bushes or
That's
something.
a good question. They are cunning.
But they
So-
stink.
It seems like we sort of caught them mid-meeting, as they're discussing their boss here.
And you
So,
all can hear their sound, by the way, of their conversation, just snatches of it, but you hear like, I tell you to dash. So you hear some of that as well.
So whisper over to Inga. Have you seen any others of them? They don't seem to know that we're here.
Yeah, we should circle them and try to ambush them.
Yeah, let's take out the big guy first as well.
Yeah. But make sure none of them get away. That's important because I assume there's gonna be more nearby. And they mustn't know of us being
Yeah.
there.
I'm trying
Because
to-
I think they're specifically looking for the lady Irame.
Makes sense.
The elves have bows and arrows.
Yes.
Okay, so River will kind of nod to this and say, should the 3 of us creep closer and then let our elven friends here fire off volleys before we move in for an attack?
It's a good idea.
And
I'll probably get my bow out as well at this point.
Okay.
Same.
so, all right, and the elves will be able to do that. Presumably, you can maybe try to give them a signal if you can. Are you going to try to fire yourself as well, or are you going to try to kind of, have the elves fire and then you jump upon them in melee?
No, I think it would make more sense to like get as many shots at them as we can at one point
Okay.
and then jump at them.
Okay.
Maybe.
Same here.
Are you going to now? If you want to stay stealthy and do that, because of the position of where they are, they're just as I said, their backs are just visible above the grass. It will not be an easy shot because you're also trying to stay stealthy. If you stand up, you'll be able to get a fairly clear shot, but you will then be like, "Hello," like as you stand up.
So.
What? What's that?
Do we also?
Inge is short. So.
Yeah.
It's true. Do we also, if they fan, if the archers fan slightly, then is that like, because we want to prevent them from running in one direction in particular, right?
Right.
Like we want to kind of push them towards the others, or like whatever pincer thing Legolas is trying to do.
Yes.
So okay, so we should probably fan the archers out in the direction to drive them in that direction. And then River will, as the only melee only person, will.
Yeah, no, in that case, then Inge is gonna stick with River.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because like there's no way that River is gonna like be able to hold off like 3 massive orcs.
No.
Also,
There's only one massive orc. There are 2 normal-sized orcs, right?
also, like since like some of us have like been in this area before, do we like know of any spots nearby that we could like use to our advantage, like some cliff or something? I'm thinking.
It's
or...
a good thought, but not really here. Remember, you're a little bit off the path that you took when you were going south here, and in this tall grass, there could be a cliff right below you. Like, you don't actually know. The grass is so high that it really kind of obscures what is below. However, you can definitely use the high grass to your advantage for sure.
Wait, isn't this like one of Robar's known lands, though, or am I missing?
Yeah, I think I know this area, but I mean, that might not mean I know the specific.
Right. Exactly. You know the land, but not necessarily what's going to be below. You know the general features of the land in terms of where stuff is likely to be. You do know that grassland here burns pretty quickly in both directions.
Yeah, but this is gonna set set an alarm to literally everyone.
That is quite true.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Quite true.
Trying to keep it quiet and quick.
Quite true.
My house isn't too far from here. Let's not set fire to it.
Bjorn's like, about that patron thing, Tawny.
No, sanctuary.
We need to chat. It's not me. It's you. Actually, it really is you. Okay. Now, Tawny, are you sticking with? So, as I understand it, Robar is fanning out in one direction, and Tawny is staying where he is with Inga and the river.
So I figured that Inga and the river are going to get closer.
Okay, so they're creeping forward. Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
So is Tawny, are you staying here in this spot right now? Okay. All right. And I want to know, Tawny, under what, if creatures come running past you, are you going to trip them? When are you going to reveal yourself if you do? I just want to know.
Yeah, that was my plan, is that if they try to get by me, I'm going to do my best to trip them, take them down, whatever.
Got it. Okay. All right. And Robar, are you fanning out Robar to the north or the south? Now, the elves are supposedly going to their east, so between them and Mirkwood. So that's where they're and there's only 3 elves that are going to be there. So the question is, do you want to go sort of north or south? Either one would technically do the job of, you can only cover so many areas, basically. So
I'll take the northern side.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask you then, Robar, to make a stealth check for me as you're moving around to the north. I'm going to give you this at +2 as you're making this roll. You were in High Grass, you were a Dunedain, and you do know something about the land.
So 23. Good lord.
Wow. So you're just vanish, just complete, total stealth as you go around. Are you going to fire at them before the melee people jump in, or are you waiting until the melee happens and then they stand up and you're like, wha-bam?
I think it will be I'll fire along with the elves and then the melee people go in once
Got it.
they're
Okay.
healing from arrows.
Okay.
What I was imagining and what River would have communicated if this was okay was that to fire at them and then to so if Robar has gone to the north, then that we would go to the south. And that as they were being fired on, that we would come up from that side melee wise.
Okay, that's fine. You realize that leaves the west sort of open except for Tawny, right?
Right.
Which is okay. I'm just like I said, you can't necessarily cover absolutely everything.
No.
I'm just letting you know.
No. I'm just thinking the idea is to keep them away from the lady, and she's back west, right?
Northwest.
Northwest.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. As long as we're just the idea is just to approach them from to be within shot of them once the arrows are fired.
Got it. Okay, I would like a stealth check from Inga and from the river. I will give you folks this at +1, not +2, but I'll give you +1 here. Okay.
Yeah, so 15, I guess.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see how they do. Okay. When orcs get involved in arguments, this is so they are not really clearly paying attention. You actually get very close so that you can actually smell the stink of the orcs off of them. There's a kind of combination of not only terrible orc filth smell, but also burned something. They might have cooked something or who knows what, but it smells pretty foul. And now you get close enough, River, that you can actually, just as you look up, you can see only, I don't know, maybe a couple of meters away from here, maybe between 5 and 10 feet, you can see the large hulking back of this one orc who seems to be the large one, assuming that his name is Nugrush, who is still saying, "I've told you I've had enough. We're going to move on them when we get the chance, but we're not going to do it before then." And the other ones say, You're a fool, Nagrash, as I've already said. Once we get the opportunity, you're going to jump on them and slit your throats, eh? And then you go running all the way back to him. And what happens when you get there? What happens for us? What happens to you is you'll listen to orders. And then he stops. And he's like sniffing the air. He's like, there's something around here. There's something that ain't right. And he's sort of looking around. He hasn't spotted you, but he's looking around from left to right. Okay.
Something clean.
Something smells hygienic. And
Be fresh.
exactly, yeah. Jeez. It's a Glade.
We're all a little bit right.
It's a Glade plug-in. Yeah, like, I can tell. I like the idea that on Robar's bow is actually like a hanging pine tree, that you get in the gas station, like air freshener or whatever. Okay, so Robar, as you look and you can kind of see Nugrush kind of look up, and he's kind of sniffing the air, and then you look over and you see two hooded figures, like kind of just emerging, almost as if they were rising above water, like rising above the level of the grass, and their bows, their arrows, just sneak over the top, and they look at you, and one of them sort of nods in your direction, Robar.
Yeah, I give the sort of logo.
Okay. Do you fight now, Robar? You actually could theoretically hit any of the three, although at the moment the best shot that you have is going to be at the Orc Chieftain. Now again, same thing. If you want to do this from stealth, it's going to affect your attack, but he won't necessarily see you immediately. But it's going to affect your attack. If you stand up to fight him, then you can get an attack off, but then you will have revealed yourself, presumably.
I think we'll do a 3, 2, 1, and then stand up and shoot the guy, because I don't mind him knowing where I am, because he's shortly going to be engaged.
Right. So would you go on 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3? Which should we go? 1, 2, 3. Go. Okay. All right. So you count down to the elves, presumably, or just sort of.
Yeah, this is totally Aragorn at Helm's Deep.
Yep.
So yeah, and I'll jump up, fire off the arrow.
Okay. Go ahead and make your attack. This is going to be at a normal attack then. And I'm going to get us some music.
Attack music.
Oh wait, that's not a skill check. Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Was that a 6?
It was a 6.
Okay.
Oh no!
Every other roll, you're just like, I got it, and then
I was trying to think if I had the advantage, but that's only on skill.
Nope. No, not on this. So the arrow goes flying past his shoulder, and Nagrash, and stands up, and he's kind of sees you, and he's just like, figures, man, filth, come on! And he pulls out this really ugly-looking heavy spear. This thing is thick as this, thick spear, heavy, rusty head, tetanus-inducing. This is the worst. This is a big thing. And the other two soldiers, which also have spears and bent swords at their belts, they carry both of them, and they turn. And as they turn, several other bowstrings twang. Let's see. One of them misses, one of them hits, though. Let's see how much they do.
That was a warning shot. I never actually hit anything in combat, so it's
This is standard. So this actually strikes one of the orc soldiers, one of the smaller ones, in the shoulder. Ah! And he just kind of, yells and grabs his shoulder and falls to the right. The orcs kind of swivel in that direction as well. And Nugrush yells, "It's a trap, boys!" And I would like everybody to roll initiative for me, please.
Don't forget to touch yourself and put the.
Oh, wait.
Track.
Yeah, yep. I literally, as you were saying that, I'm like, wait, something I'm forgetting. Okay, there we go. Turn tracker. Sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah, no, not. Oh, I rolled a 17 first time.
All right. Robar, is that a 6?
How did you
Well,
click
I
the
got
token
I got
first?
17 on the first one, but I forgot to click my token.
Oh, all right. So I'll add
Oh
you.
wait, should I have to click my what? Oh no, what have I done? Do I have to click a
What
token?
have you done?
Yes. So you have. So hold on a second. So you've got a 17. You said you had. No, wait. I'll. 1 second, Mel. 17. Will, you got a Robar got a 17.
17 plus
Okay.
2 on it.
What's your dexterity?
Dex is a 14.
Higher than you, Tani, I assume.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now we can add River to the turn tracker, and River had a 14, right? Okay. Same question to you. What's your dexterity?
Sorry. It is 16.
16, and Inga, yours is lower than that?
My dex?
Yes.
I have 14.
Okay. That's what I thought. Good, lovely. That all works perfectly. Just give me a second. Let's see what happens for these guys. Oh, wow. All right. Right. Okay. All right, and my other guy here. Okay, and this is okay. All right, Ingo with the 14. River with a 14, Robar with a 17, and Tiny Bear with a 17. Let's cut those. Okay. All right. The first to act are the bad guys. So the first thing that the big dude does is let's see, he runs directly at you, and he doesn't bother to throw the spear. He runs directly at you, Robar, shouting a challenge. For Mordor, Ogluck, and Gundabad! And he's, running, bolting right at you. And in the last few feet, he jumps up to, leaps up, like Brad Pitt style in Troy, to bring the spear down. So, let's see what it does. 14 to hit?
To hit Robar as a hit, my AC is 14.
Okay. So... Ow. He does 12 points of damage. This thing just right into your shoulder. And as he does this, so he pierces you with his spear, and then he grabs from his belt this curling, ugly-looking whip, and whoosh, around your leg, tries to catch your leg and pull you off your feet.
Yikes.
I think 21 is likely to do that also.
Yeah.
Let's see.
He gets to act twice?
Yep, twice. He is a big.
No!
He is a big boy.
God.
You
And
do.
where there's a whip, there's a way.
That's it. He says, "Where there's a whip, there's a way." But he does want to go to war today, and he does 3 points of damage to you. And I need you to make a strength saving throw here, Robar. If you can use athletics if you want. Actually, either athletics or acrobatics to avoid getting pulled off your feet.
Strength saving throw. Let's look that up.
So you can add your proficiency bonus for either athletics or acrobatics.
Okay. So +2, 13.
Let's see. 15. Yes, so 13, you actually do manage to stay up, although not by much. You kind of feel yourself slipping, but the whip does not, it hits your leg, but it does not pull you off your feet. And he yells, maggot! And looks to you as he pulls his spear out, blood sort of dripping from the wound that he leaves behind. Now let's see. Now the other two move as well. And they actually turn and they throw their spears towards the elves. Okay, one misses, one hits. Let's see whether or not that does anything. Okay. Yeah, it does a little bit of damage to the elves. Seems to be not a big sort of blow, but kind of a grazing blow. And throws their spears, and then immediately pull forth their bent swords. And sort of shout a challenge at the elves. Robar, you were up next. You have this big guy in your face, and you just got hurt quite a bit just now.
I draw my longsword, and I swipe at him.
Okay, go ahead and make your attack.
Just about holding my ground.
Stone is not there, Echo, at the moment.
No, he's not. I left him to stay with the lady.
That is a miss. This dude is wearing very bulky, sort of heavy armor. And you can see, by the way, Robar, that he is squinting in the early morning sun. You can tell that this is sort of bothering him, having to fight in the daylight, for whatever that's worth. But he, unfortunately, that does not find its way home. Are you staying where you are, or are you going to try to slide around anywhere? Or are you?
No, I'm not going to move. I'm going to stand my ground.
Okay. All right, that's going to lead us to Tawny. Tawny, you just heard and probably saw some of this, just sort of looking above the grass. So you heard a big challenge, and then a shout, and then a kind of from what sounded like Robar. So there's some stuff going on right now.
How far are they from me?
Probably, I would say, they were pretty close. Maybe 50, 60 feet, 50 feet, 60 feet. You probably could get to him in like a second turn. Or on one turn if you just like double move, but you couldn't do anything once you got there. But you could get close to him. That's if you're going to where Robar is. The other ones are a little bit closer to you, the other orc soldier guys. And the elves, of course, are farther away because they're on the other side.
But the orcs have not yet noticed me.
Right, they are facing away from you, looking at the elves that shot them. Hi, Hunter and Wolf. Welcome.
Looking at Robar, can I tell how messed up he likely is?
He got hurt pretty badly. Because that spear like was thick and ugly looking, and it just hit him. Plus, he hit him with the whip too. So,
Is the spear, like stuck in him, or has he like?
No, he pulled it free, which didn't feel any better.
And Nuglish has probably been like licking it the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not quite like. No, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. I need to show you guys a picture. I have a picture someplace of him.
From an orc licking a spear?
No. I should do that though. Jesus.
You're a booby.
Booby yourself. Oh man. Okay.
For right this second, since they have not yet noticed me, I'm not gonna move just yet.
Okay.
If anything, I'm going to. I know in D&D, like regular 5th edition, we can take the dodge action, but I don't know if that applies to.
Well, yeah, you can do that here as well. You're doing that to avoid attacks towards you, or
yeah, if they come at me,
Okay. All right.
You can also hold your action. Is that a thing? Or?
Yes, you can ready an action and hold it, and then that goes off if the trigger goes off before his next turn. Otherwise, that action is lost when he starts.
But I mean, effectively, all Tawny is he's either waiting for them to try to escape this way, and then he's gonna 8-ball to the corner, pocket them in the face with his staff and try to knock him down, or he's gonna dodge if they spot him and come to attack him. But basically, he's kind of waiting for everybody else in the party to engage so that he will know that he can get over to Robar.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And all right, there we go. That's. Wait, what? Oh, I was looking at the wrong one. I was like, what the devil is this picture that I know? I have this really cool picture that I know I have somewhere, and I found it. All right, just have to make sure I had the right damn book. Okay, that is going to lead us then to the river as I get this bloody picture ready. And you're basically waiting until the engagement happens, and then you're going to book it towards Robar. Unless they come charging at me. Right, unless they come at you. Yep. Okay. Okay, so yeah, the river. That means that is you.
So the two that are left who've just drawn their swords, did one of them get hit with an arrow?
Yes, one of them got hit by an arrow and looks to be more hurt than the other one does. So.
Okay.
Actually, reasonably hurt. I mean, they look like that arrow did some good work.
Okay. So she is going to target that one first.
Okay.
And attack him with both axes.
Okay. So you leap forward into the fray.
That's one axe.
Okay.
And oops.
That is a miss, by the way.
A miss. Okay. Second axe. Ooh.
That is a critical hit. Max damage. All right. That's what I like to see. Okay, so your maximum damage on your axe.
It's
Well, you don't even have to roll for it. Just...
8. Right. Sorry. Yeah, of course. So it's 8 plus 5, is it? So 13?
It's 13 points of damage. Okay, and to the already damaged one you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
that would be 2d6, which would be 12.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Maths. So 17 points. Yeah.
Okay.
I was looking at the 4s and going, oh yes, these are 4-sided die. No, they are.
It's like no.
There are 2 4s. I'm seeing it 2 4s, and I'm in the caffeine deficiency. Yeah.
Okay, give me a second. All right, I'm just showing on OBS right now. You folks can see what it is, the big guy that you're fighting.
Ugh.
Yikes.
Yep, definitely.
Lovely person. Okay.
Does he also have an axe?
He has a he has got a whip instead of an axe, but otherwise that spear is pretty much right on.
Okay.
So that recently plunged into Robar's shoulder.
He needs to moisturize.
Exactly. Okay, so with your strike, River, you basically cut right through. So you slash down the back of the soldier, the one orc soldier, and he pitches forward into the grass and lies quietly, clearly dead. And the second one sort of whirls to face you, and his eyes kind of widen in fear. Okay, that leads us to...
They should.
And they should do that. Okay, and that's going to lead us to, since I assume River is staying right where she is engaged with this other guy.
River is assuming that Inga is going to charge forward to Robar, so...
That's a good question. Inga, what are you doing?
Well, I guess I'm charging forward to Robar.
I have this feeling I should charge forward. Okay.
River just, has the experience of previous battles and knowing that this is,
This is exactly what happens every time. Robot tries to shoot something, misses, gets murdered by the person immediately. And
why do you even have a bow?
Wait, I bet he's holding his bow upside down.
This whole time.
The arrow was facing his own body, like, oh! Oh, there's a do not don't right there. All right. All right, so... okay, so you're charging towards him. With what end, though? Are you charging towards him to help, against the orc guy? Basically, against the orc chieftain?
So, like, is Robar back on his feet? Or
Well, he's never gotten off his feet. He's just like
Oh, okay,
standing there
I
like,
thought, like,
no,
like,
he's saved from
well-
being. He did not manage to get dragged off his feet.
Okay, so
What's up, Dragon?
did the big orc got hit like at all so far?
That would be a nope.
Okay, so
Fresh as a
and
daisy.
I'm running to him from like behind, basically, right?
Yes, and I would say that you can reach him if you wish. Now, I will give you, if you want, one attack not if you want, I'm sure you will, I will give you an attack at advantage. He is aware there's people behind him, but he's very sort of single-mindedly focused on wiping out the guy that was firing at him.
Okay, I try to hit him in the leg, like I charge at him and like
Okay.
try to punch
Strike
him.
his leg!
Yes,
Sweep
to
the
make-
leg.
To
Okay.
hope that he will topple over.
Okay.
Okay, good. How does this work again? Up there. So at advantage, yes. So that would be 17.
17 will hit. So you do hit him. Go ahead and roll your damage.
7?
All right. So you strike him in the leg. Ah! And he kind of reaches down and grabs it. And then he turns around and he kind of grins. Ah! Dwarven filth. Good. I haven't eaten dwarf for a long time.
He just like looks at him with like this very disgusted face. Like, you can't even think of a combat, just like, ew.
You shouldn't knock it till you try it. Its souffle is delicious. Okay. And, all right, so you were right on top of him. That is going to lead us to, let's see, the elves are going to fire again. So the elves fire at the remaining orc soldier.
The big one, fire at the big one.
One minute. Well, they seem to be occupied. One misses, one hits the one that you are currently dealing with, River. And does not a lot of damage, but some. Okay. And that is going to lead
like
us to...
supposed to be these like amazing archers that can never miss.
Yeah. Yeah, propaganda.
I know,
clearly.
it's true, it's true, it's true. Well, I mean, they have hit twice so far, in
Yeah,
fairness.
but like they also missed twice, so.
That's true.
A 50% success rate for an elf seems like it is undercutting the legend somewhat.
Maybe they're
Who's the one who's been missing?
maybe they're a half elf. Yeah, maybe this is, just say.
Ah, no.
Half is effective. Also, this is Kevin, so you have no one to blame but yourself.
Did you know that here in Germany, like Kevinismus is a thing, like Kevinism, basically.
Really?
Yeah, because like back when like my generation rolled around, like that parent generation started to like give their kids like English and French names, like all the sons got English names and all the daughters got French names because it was the cool and hip thing to do at the time. So like, and that would usually be the type of parents who would turn out not to be the greatest parents.
Wow.
So like the kids that like got named Kevin and stuff turned out to be not the like best behaved kids, basically.
So Kevin is a lousy parent, is what you're saying? Like he's
No, Kevin is the son.
Oh,
of
he's the
Loud.
kid. So he's right. So he had lousy parents. Well, that's I mean,
I can like say that from like personal experience. Like the worst bully I ever had in school, he was named Kevin. So.
oh man, boy, this guy is Kevin's such a jerk, man. I don't understand. All right. Well, the orc, which is not named Kevin but Nuglash, decides that he is going to continue his attack, but he actually, so he kind of slides, he sort of pivots and slides over 5 feet so that he now can take in both of you. So he basically sees both of you. He, again, tries to thrust his spear at you, Robar. 15?
Oh, yep.
Let's see.
19 points of damage.
Nope, he does 9, no. 9 points of damage. And then, Inga, he uses his whip against you. So he, whoops, with his whip trying to, oh wow. And he critically hits. So there's that. Now the good news is that the whip doesn't do all that much damage. It's only 6 damage maximum. The potentially bad news is that it may drag you off your feet. So it curls around your feet. Now the question is whether it gets hold of it. So I need you to make here a dexterity saving throw. I believe, no. Did I have you do strength or dex, Will? Did I have you do strength saving throw?
I Strength saving
throw. Yeah, same. So do a strength saving throw, but you can use either athletics or acrobatics to add to that saving throw. So you can add either one of those, Inga, if you have either one. If you have,
Wait, so I get like both my strengths
and your you get the
and-
no, right, exactly. Instead of, so basically, because Will, I think, did his athletics instead of his strength, right? Or did
I added my athletics or acrobatics bonus.
right? So that's what you're going to do. You're going to add your athletics or acrobatics bonus to your strength.
Well, it's either like acrobatics would be +2 and
Up to you.
athletics would be +4.
So then I would assume +4. It sounds better.
How's that?
Okay, so you manage to sort of nimbly pull your foot out of the way before it can curl around your leg and pull you out of the way. And the orc chieftain kind of snarls at you. Let's see. Now the other orc soldier.
Wait. Does he end his turn?
He ends his turn, yes.
Okay, so because this is my new ability that I have,
Okay.
I now can, whenever an enemy who is like within 5 feet reach of me, I can move. Actually, that does not provoke opportunity.
Logical.
So I am gonna, like, Inga's basically gonna throw herself between Robar and the orc and like take stance. Kind of thing.
Okay, so Robar is rather surprised to see, leaping in front. Inga leaps in front and stands in front of them. Inga in front, Robar behind. The orc chieftain snarls, "That's touching. It'll be more touching when he watches me feed on your corpse." And then that leads to the orc soldier that I mentioned before, who charges at the elves.
Do I get the 6 damage or?
I'm sorry?
Like when you did the attack roll, like you
Yeah,
said,
you
like
take the
max
6 damage regardless. This was to see whether you're getting knocked off your feet. Let's see, just for a quick check. Robar, you're at 7 out of 31, I believe.
Wait, I took 12?
No, you took... No, more than that. You took, I think you took 19 first. Or no, you took 12. No, you took 12 first, and then you took an additional 9 just now. So you've taken a total of, I think, somehow that doesn't sound right. I have you at 7 out of 31. I don't remember why.
I have myself at 10 out of 31, but...
So you might be right. So maybe that's right. 21, that's right. So that'd be right.
The 12 was the 12 from the spear, or was it 9 from the spear and 3 from the whip?
Oh, it's the whip. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah, so it's 7. Because you took, that's right. Yeah, you took the 12 from the spear, but then you took the additional. So you should be at 7 out of 31 is what I have you at. Okay. And Tani, you're still 12 out of 12. Rivers are 22 out of 22. Inga, you're 22 out of 28?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
No?
What?
If I'm at full hit points, I'm at 20 of 20.
Oh, I never moved your... That's right, because I don't think you had rolled it last time.
Like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Like, how is it possible that Tani has only 12 hit points? But
Yeah, no, you're right. I hadn't known what you had actually rolled it up to. Okay, good.
he has more mass than any of us.
I'm saying I'm fat.
Okay, that leads us to the orc soldier charges at the elf, jumps forward, and strikes him solidly, actually, with his bent sword. Slashes down with his bent sword. You hear a shout in pain as the sword bites. The elf is still up and fighting, but you can see that the soldier is engaged with him. Robar, you were up.
I'm gonna try and swing with my sword.
Okay.
15.
Hey!
15 is a miss.
No! Come on!
I was waiting for that.
This guy is in heavy armor. He kind of, sort of, basically, pass your swing aside to this spear. You'll have to do better than that, he says. And you're going to stay right on top of him, I assume?
Yep.
Okay. Swing and a miss, yeah, in this case, Echo. It was pretty close. It was pretty close, though. Tani, you were up next. The river will be on deck.
Heading for Robar.
Okay. You will be able to... Now, if you double move all the way, you'll get to him this turn, but you won't be able to... Although, actually, if you heal as a bonus action... I take that back. If you heal as a bonus action, you could do it this turn.
I don't remember if I do or not.
I doubt that you do, but it's possible. you as a master healer, after all.
Yeah. For action. Nope.
Okay. So it's going to have to wait till next turn then. But you are now there, though. Okay, River, you are up. Inga is on deck. So you've got the one, the orc soldier basically moved away from you to engage the elf soldier.
Who is closer to me, the elves or Inga and Robar?
They're about equidistant. You could get to either one.
Okay. I'm trying to think too, like in the heat of battle. I think she'll go to the other orc soldier because
Okay.
the whole point is to not let anyone escape. So
Okay.
tie up the loose ends first.
Okay. So you zip at them, and again, you're going to get a chance to get a shot at this guy with advantage because again, he's paying attention to the elves, not you.
Okay. So she's gonna go in both axes, swinging. Wait, why is it like this? Oh, there we go.
Both hits
Woo! Okay.
because of the advantage.
Great.
Oh!
Hooray. Okay, so damage for the first.
Okay.
And damage. Oh wait, what? Why does it say
6? Seems.
Okay, I'm just wondering because it says hand axe plus 5, so I wasn't sure what I was counting.
That would be the hit, but not on damage.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, and
Nice.
Okay. All right. Both of those hit, and in fact, that second one, again, like this sounds very familiar. This is exactly what happened last turn. 2 shots, bam, bam, in the back, pitches forward. You see the rather startled expressions of the 2 elves, and they both drop.
hooray! Wait, who both drop?
So I mean that what I meant was the second one drops. So they're both down.
I was like, another one? No.
No, the fourth one rises. No.
Okay, so River drops him, looks at the elves, and looks at the one who got hit and says, "Are you all right?"
And then says, "Yes, I'm fine. Take out the big one."
She nods, and yes, yeah. That's where she'll head to her next turn.
Okay, Inga, you're up. Will, I saw what you said. We'll see how this goes right here. Inga's up.
Yeah, well, I go at the big one again, obviously.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna take my axe and exit at him.
You're just gonna ask him a question.
Yes! Either one of these hits.
Hit.
Yeah. And then do damage. 10.
Wow. Just strike. So you kind of slash into his leg, and he grabs at the shaft of the axe and rips it out. Despite the fact that it's like pulling and like it's pulling at the skin, and obviously creating more pain. And then says, "I don't want the filth of a dwarven axe in my body."
Well, you don't seem to usually mind that much filth, so what's the problem with this one?
Are you saying I'm filthy? No, he does. Okay, so you're staying where you are between Robar and him, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. The one elf is kind of tending to his wounds, but the second elf fires, but unfortunately misses, partly because he's trying to avoid hitting all of you that are locked in melee combat with this thing, and so does not hit him. As we get to the top of the round, the big guy goes again. He, let's see. He will turn his attention to you, Inga, since you just hit him really hard. Let's see. 22 with the spear.
Yeah, that hits.
Okay, that's going to be 11 points of damage. This guy hits hard when he hits. And then he's going to try with his whip. And this time he's going to use the whip on you, Robar. So he seems to be alternating to try to pull one of you off their feet and then attack the other one. However, he misses you wildly and curses. Robar, you're up. He's definitely been hurt, but he's not close to death yet. Oh, so Inga can move out of the way again? Okay, that's fine.
Like basically now she like backs up. Like how far can she move again? Let me see. She can like you round up or down when it comes to like odd numbers.
Round down. So
Round down. So she can go 11 feet. No, wait. 12 feet. 12 feet.
So are you okay, so are you getting
no,
out
but
of
she's like basically dugging like going backwards, just like stepping out of like his range basically, and like
okay, to the extent that you can, but if you're going to stay in front of Robar, you don't have a lot of room to maneuver.
No. She's not going to stay in front of Robar because now she is badly.
Okay, she's like, okay, your turn, right. Tag.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Tag, yeah.
Okay. All right, she steps out of the way, and he is gone. Robar, you're up.
I'm gonna try and hit him again
Okay.
because we're both dying.
But this time you
Miss. Fortunately, a miss. I mean, these rolls aren't horrible. I just...
If I do hit them, I do extra damage to them, but it's just like...
It's just a matter of hitting. You were rolling great earlier. I mean, it's,
yeah,
you know.
it's just when it matters.
Well, Tani,
Always matters, just in different ways.
Tani, you're up. You are able to heal him if you wish.
oh yeah.
The chieftain, the orc, the big Nuglaz guy looks at you and kind of like, they're bringing in bears to fight their battles, are they?
So an extra 14 points to
Wow, look at that.
Mr. Robar.
All right.
Thanks.
You just slam a twice baked honey cake into his face. Just take this. Don't ask questions. All right, so you're at 21 out of 31, Robar. You're feeling much better. That's quite a heal. River, you were... oh, sorry, Tani, you're staying where you are, or are you...
I don't... Well, see, I'm on the opposite side of Robar from Nuglish, whatever his name is. So, yeah, I'm going to step back about, 5-10 feet.
Okay.
But stay close enough that I can move forward again if I need to.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So the situation as River sees it is that Tawny has come up, is staying there, right? You just said?
Pretty much.
Yeah. And the situation is dire. This guy is kind of huge. But his back is to her.
Yes. Let me see. His side is to her. Now she could run around. She could run around. Yeah, because he stepped back so he could take in both Inga and Robar, and he's fighting the two of them.
Okay. And he looks hurt.
Yes, he looks hurt, but he's not close to dead yet.
No,
he's a big boy.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna try and do this thing. I'm gonna try it.
Okay.
So what River's going to oh, why am I trying to do this thing? Why do I play an overconfident character?
It's epic, an epic character.
An epic character, right? Okay, River is basically going to take she's going to run up along behind him and try to leap up onto his back.
Okay.
And yeah.
All right.
So that's an acrobatics.
Acrobatics check first, and then if you do it, the attack happens after that. We'll see what the acrobatics does.
Can I use inspiration on this?
Of course. Do you have now? Do you have your own inspiration, or are you asking for inspiration?
I seem to have it. I think
you have an inspiration that was going to be. Well, if it's from last month, it didn't carry over though, because those don't carry over. Now, chat, if anyone is in chat, they could provide you inspiration. These are up to date. So if chat wants to inspire the River to do something awesome, these are the people who can do inspiration. So let's see if there's anybody in chat who could do that. Well, you'd be looking at you'd be looking at J-Rab or Dragon Spear or Nonstop, if Nonstop's here. But I actually don't think Nonstop is here. So it'd be J-Rab or Dragon Spear. I don't know if either one of them, but they may be in lurk mode at the moment. So if not, then you'll have to make this on its own. Going once.
All right.
Going twice. Nope, I think you're going to have to do it.
All right, here we go. 1,
natural.
2, 3, natural. Nope.
So you try to get, you're like, and you kind of do that. So the first part of it, you try to kind of leap up on the back, and he's like, and he kind of heaves himself back, and it's almost like, sort of riding a bucking bronco, right? You're like thrown offwards, and you fall backwards and land on the ground, sort of just bam, like hit the ground hard, momentarily stunned. And he turns around to sort of see you and takes a step back, and he says, "They just keep leaping out of the grass. I like this one, though. Pretty." And then waves his spear around like, as if he's going to just finish her off. But we'll see if that actually happens, because there's other people who are going first. Let's see. This is going to lead us to Inga. So, Inga, you were up. You just saw the river do this.
Yeah, so, like, Inga is, like, I think she's gonna, take a few steps back further and gets her bow out, actually, and shoots at the big guy.
Okay, that's fine.
Does she not have... Oh, did he take the axe?
No, he just ripped it out of his leg. She didn't pull it out of her hand.
Okay.
I should have added that. That would have been an awesome ability. But no, he didn't take her weapon. Be aware, by the way, Inga, when you do this and you pull out your bow, if he then charges you, it's going to take you a turn to replace with your melee weapon again. Because you have to basically drop it, pull out your bow, and then shoot. So I'm just letting you know.
Okay. Well, she can just, attack the guy and then take, a step back again, right? Does that work?
Yes, but if he steps forward to you, then, you don't know what he's going to do. He may also be interested in dealing with this person who just leaped on his back, or taking out the ranger. I mean, you have no idea.
No, we do the bow thing.
Okay.
Okay, so shooting. Do I get advantage?
No. This is a miss, unfortunately.
Oh.
Are you staying where you are? Are you moving back another 5 feet? Or are you staying in the same spot?
How far away am I from now?
Oh, maybe 15 feet, 20 feet, maybe.
That's 2 meters?
Very short range. That would be 3 meters per. Yeah, so about a little bit more than that. It's about 6 meters, 5-6 meters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then maybe takes 2 more steps backwards.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. Let's see. 2 more bowstrings twang. One of the arrows impacts the shoulder of the orc chieftain. Nugglaz goes, filthy elves! And takes damage from them accordingly. Okay. All right, and that brings us up to the top. So he looks at the 3 of you and looks at the sort of potential threats that are still on the board, so to speak. And he is going to swing away at Robar, who is still within reach with his spear. Going to thrust away, I should say, with his spear. But he's going to miss this time. Then he's going to again, let's see, go for the whip. He's going to use that on Robar also. A miss. That's not a good turn for him. Miss and a miss. Okay. That is going to lead us to Robar, who I know is dealing with delivery, so I'm going to put him on hold for a minute. Since you guys go next, Tawny Bear, what do you want to do?
Tawny's not too far from Inga, right?
Correct.
Well, let's see how much we can heal Inga.
Yay!
Whee! Massive healer, go all the way.
7 points.
Okay.
Thank you.
How many of these heals you have, by the way, Tawny?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Until a short rest.
Got it. All right. Okay. So we did that. And then you're staying in position, or are you moving somewhere?
Staying in position.
Okay. That's going to lead us to the river. Now, the river, you are currently lying on the ground prone. You can stand up if you wish, but that's going to be your whole movement for the turn. But you can stand up and attack if you want.
Why is she lying down? I thought she landed and was just a little stunned.
Nope, landed on her back.
Oh, okay.
And was stunned because she hit her head. But you can stand up from that. You could still attack, though, once you stand up.
Oh, yes.
You just
She's
can't
gonna
move,
stand up
though.
and attack.
Okay. All right, you may proceed. Kind of clearing the fog from your head.
That was
Not how I
one
planned
of my
it.
best ideas. Yeah. Would have been so great if it had worked. All right. So going in with the axes.
Okay.
And she's also she's also just gonna like target because he's really big, right?
Yep.
Yeah, she's gonna target around his thighs probably.
Okay. Well, he's not. To be fair, he is bigger than you, but he's not a giant. I mean, he's not.
No?
Like, but no, you can still do that. But I'm just letting you know he's a big dude, but he's not giant size.
Yeah, and does targeting like require some special thing?
It depends on what you're trying to do with it. If you're aiming for something specifically, yes, it makes an effect on the attack. It means you have less of a chance to hit. But it depends on what you're trying to do with it. If you're just,
I think she's just going for max damage.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, right now. So yeah. Okay. Boing.
Nope, I'm wrong. I have one more heal.
You have one more heal? Okay.
heal.
Let's see.
Balls.
Both of those are misses. He swings out of the way again, almost like parries both of them out of the way, and he says, "You gotta learn to stand before you can fight, dear." And he kind of glares at her. And let's see. That's going to lead us to, assuming the river stays where well, actually, she has to because she just stood up, and that's what she could do. So that leads us to Inga.
Okay. Well, now that Inga is like a bit more vitalized now, she's actually gonna get her axe back. Charge that guy.
Okay.
Head on.
Okay. Now, what I'm going to say here is that in this situation, you're going to drop your bow to do that. You can do that and pick up your axe, but it means you're just going to have to come back to it. So you won't immediately be able to drop back and pick up the bow next turn. You'd have to pick up the bow, but it'll be another turn after that before you could attack with the bow.
Okay. Then we do that.
All right. Axe time.
18. Yes.
Woo!
Come on. 11 damage.
Okay. Oh, thank you, D_. 11 damage. That's a big strike. So you can see that he's starting to look kind of messed up, and he's like, you'll pay.
Like he didn't look messed up.
You'll pay for that. Yeah, I mean, like, messed up for him comparatively. He's actually getting better looking. Like, as you hit him more, like, that's the orc version of it, right? He's looking more awesome every time.
Rookie and gray.
Yeah. Exactly. It's the reverse version. So, okay. And then he gives you the awesome line from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I'm an immortal, not a gazelle. Sorry, that movie is sadly underrated. I like that movie. It's a guilty pleasure. All right, so you do that, and then you're staying where you are, Ingo, or not?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. Elves will fire again, and both will hit. Wow,
Yay!
one of them hits a lot.
They
Blam, blam. They actually hit really hard. Like, he kind of jerks forward as they slam into the back of his shoulder. And now he kind of is breathing heavily. You filth. And he swings out at you, Ingo, wildly with his spear and with his whip, but both of them end up missing. And he stands there kind of swaying back and forth uneasily. Tawny, I'm going to leave it to you because we don't have Robar back yet. So, Tawny, I'm going to give you a chance here.
I'm going to use an ability called Softer Underneath.
Okay.
You study the anatomy of various creatures and beings, have granted you intimate knowledge of their weaknesses. If you spend an action studying a target, you gain an additional damage die that may be applied to a single attack from you or a companion that hits the creature. So, who's next after me? Is it the river?
It is.
Okay, so watching Mr. Nurgerberg here.
Noglish.
Whatever. Hit it very hard.
So I'll kind of catch the river's attention and motion to her that there's a soft spot in his armor, a gap in his armor that she could strike for. And if she hits, she gets an additional D6 to her damage.
All right, you see it.
River nods. Okay. She's gonna go for it when it's her turn. Is it her turn?
It is her turn.
All right. With that knowledge, she's gonna just draw a deep breath, raise her axes again, and go for it.
Okay.
I just say this is an advantage because it would be beautiful. Can you imagine how much damage that would be?
That would be pretty crazy, but unfortunately not. But you do hit with that second one. Yep.
And so I roll this and then roll d6.
I believe that's right. An additional D6, right, Trent? Yeah.
Okay. So this. And where is the normal die roller again? Oh, here it is. Okay.
Yep, in the sidebar on the left.
1d6. Did it roll?
No,
I don't see it.
Oh.
Okay. So you bring both axes up in the exact spot, the sort of soft spot in his armor that Tani had pointed out, and they strike deep. You hear this unfortunate squishing sound as if something is impacted, and he kind of, blood spurts out. He staggers back. Ah! You're fat. No. When he gets a hold of you, all of you will be gone. All of you will be gone. And he falls over. I do want to point out that the river actually literally ended the three, killed all three of them in the end. But all of you did good work there. Falls backwards onto his back. And there is a moment of silence as you sort of look around yourselves, kind of taking a deep breath, like, oh, what is this all about? And then as the elves one of them that was hurt kind of struggles over to you, the other one helping him, you see Legolas and the elves sort of arriving, and Irame. And Irame is not looking at you. Irame is actually looking past you, as is Legolas. And Legolas points in the distance and says, "That's what I thought. It's a race now, then." And as you turn around, assuming that you do, you see emerging from the grass what looks like a group of possibly 20 or more of these orcs, all with their swords raised, all looking at you with rage in their eyes. And that is where I think we will call it for today. As we do this. So, many orcs. But
Was Legolas the one who said that?
Yes.
Who was the race?
Yes.
Okay.
Legolas said that. Remember, this is when he saw 20 of them as opposed to 3. So, yeah. So, all right, folks. Good stuff today. We actually got a chance to... it was nice to get sort of back in the saddle. This was, I think, your first combat that you folks had in a little while, in a couple of sessions anyway. It was good to see some of the abilities being put to good use. Inga used her ability during this time. Tani with some big heals in there. Poor Robar with some good early rolls and then some problems later on. He was the damage sponge, that he took after that. And, of course, the River with just like... I will deliver the killing blow / steal people's kills all 3 times when it happens.
I love the softer underneath detail. That's so great.
Yeah.
That was like, so good.
That was really neat. It was good stuff. So, nice work, folks. And, of course, they will be right back here with me next Tuesday as they resolve whatever this is, as maybe they try to run from this huge band of orcs that has appeared. As we sort of see how things go. So, but before I let them go, I want to give them each a chance to say their goodbyes. So I'll start as I usually do with Amal at the bottom. Amal, I hope that you enjoyed. If you could imagine as you were hitting each of those orcs, hitting pages of... Yeah, exactly. Hitting pages of your thesis each time. So, where will the fine people... Nice work today. Where will the fine people see you next?
So in person, I'm going to be at Convergence. As I've mentioned a couple times before, I'm one of the guests of honor at this absolutely wonderful convention in Minneapolis called Convergence. This year, appropriately enough, the theme is Natural 20 because it's their 20th anniversary of being a con, and so they're bringing guests of honor who have been there in the past. Notable guests of honor who have reduced me to wibbling pile of like Spanishness. Marina Certas, otherwise known as Troy, and Demona on
Gargoyles. Oh yeah.
I love her so much. Anyway, she's gonna be there, so I'm very excited about that. But yeah, I'm going to be there. Elizabeth Bear is going to be there. Scott Lynch is going to be there. We're looking forward to meeting them. And if you are in the area, do please come and say hello. I'm going to be on various panels of geekery, and I'm learning to play the ukulele. And by learning to play the ukulele, I mostly mean I'm learning to play songs from Steven Universe on the ukulele. So yeah, all right. The next time River is going to like bust out a tune, it's going to be "All I Wanna Do Is See the Giant Woman." Anyway, so yeah, that work-wise. So I'm going to be back on social media in hopefully a limited, constrained, and healthy fashion after June 15th. So you can always hit me up on Twitter at Tithanai. You can also follow me on Drip. It's d.rip/amal-l-muhtad, I think. Anyways, I'll put the link in later. I write like sort of longer form essays there, and various geekeries and giveaways and things like that happen in that space. My website is amalilmuhtar.com, and if you read the New York Times, there will be a column from me in it later this month, probably around the 29th or something like that, in which I round up a bunch of thrillers that have come out recently and talk about them. So yeah, I think that's about it.
Awesome. Always a pleasure, Amal. Keep up the good fight, and we will see you here next week. Moving right up the line, nice work as well, Tarry. You had some good hits today in that combat, and some good stuff that was happening there. And of course, you saw the orcs in the first place, so you're definitely doing some good work. Where will the fine people see you next?
Yeah, well, here I suppose next Tuesday. But yeah, otherwise I don't really have anything like conventions planned or anything, or other live streams at the moment. But yeah, other than that, people can always like hit me up on all the social media stuff. Like Tarry Tunes is my name on almost anything, like pretty much anything. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, DeviantArt, Tunes Up, whatnot.
Patreon.
Patreon. And yeah. So yeah, that's where you can find me if you want. So yeah.
Awesome. And continue to enjoy the Netherlands, and we will see you back here, of course, next week and around as always. Next up is the still empty chair occupied usually by Will, who hopefully will be back before the end, but may not be able to be. But Will, of course, from Encounter Roleplay, who does really good stuff. It was fun to see Will back here, and Will back in his role as Robar. It's always fun to see him involved with that. So you should definitely check Will out. He's doing lots of good stuff over on his channel, and is a good guy, so definitely give Will a check on Encounter Roleplay. You can also follow him on Twitter at Encounter RP, and also he's got his own Discord and all that kind of stuff. But check him under Encounter Roleplay or Encounter RP. And thanks as always to Will for being here with us. And last but certainly not least, it is a great pleasure to have Trendane back in the on the mend and in the saddle and doing some healing work. He sort of drew from his experience and brought that into the game and was doing some serious healing. So where will the fine people see you next, Trent?
Over on Not So Speedruns channel on Thursday for more City of Mist, where I'm playing a character named Herbert Harding that really nobody knows anything about yet. Because my original character, Calvin Gannicus, is now the head of the Walker Foundation and knows pretty much everything that's happening and is in a position of being far too powerful to be in the game anymore. So I figured, all right, let's make a new character. So I'll be there on Thursday and then back here again on Tuesday, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And then, of course, back with us for I think it's the following Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is, for the post-mortem of The Rise of Tiamat, which just concluded, as you folks know, and also for setting up for The Curse of Strahd, which is going to be starting next month as we get into Barovia and Ravenloft and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be good times. And especially when you see what Trent's characters is going to be, because he's been talking to me about it. It's going to be pretty cool. Everybody that I'm talking to, by the way, is just like, how about this cool, awesome character thing? So there's lots of people playing around with the idea, which is neat. But this has been a great pleasure. I'm going to let them go. And thank you all, as always, my wonderful party, great stuff players. And I will see all of you folks back here next week. So Amal, Tarry, the absent Will, but not absent from our hearts, and Trent, thank you so much. I will see you folks soon. Check, we give some love for them. And thanks all. I will see you guys soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Happy this is AIM.
Okay. And that is going to do it for them. Let me just quickly make sure I got that. Okay, good. I want to make sure that was there. Let me get out of that. Good. And lovely. All right, in that case, we're going to slide right back to here. I want to thank everyone. You folks are awesome and great and cool and all that stuff. Let me just log out of that game for a minute. Okay, good. But if you like D&D and you're like, man, that was awesome. Why does it have to stop? I have good news for you. More D&D is actually on the way. It's going to be over on GOG. I'm going to be playing with the GOG crew with Storm King's Thunder. I will be there in about a half hour. I'm going to go grab a quick lunch and then get prepared for that, and then I'll be there, as I say, for about a half hour. Now, speaking of conventions, as I want to mention to everybody, and we've also got nominations today. Almost forgot about that. We have to do nominations as well. So while I'm getting the nominations set up, because I had completely forgotten that I needed to do that, this is going to have to be quick because I need to eat food and stuff. So I'm going to fire up my handy-dandy ARVBot because we need to have the nominations for the Chat Chosen Game of the Month. So let's load that. Let's start ARVBot. And okay. There is ARVBot. Okay. So the question is, what game should ARV play this month? That is the question. And I will take nominations from people. So I will take the first 6 nominations that people have for the game they would like this month. Hello, Nonstop. So we've got Growlancer 2, Little Big Adventure. Okay. I'm not wild about that game, but I would play it if need be. I have played it before. What else we got? Growlancer 2, Little Big Adventure. I will take nominations, just 1 nomination per person, please. Growlancer 2, Little Big Adventure. What else have we got as nominations for the Chat Chosen Game of the Month? I will play any of these, except that I reserve the right to veto one that is not. I reserve the one right to veto these if they do not kind of pass muster. Well, see, chat may be lurking in part because I was kind of ending things up right here. So that's partially on me because I was closing up and getting ready to go to GOG. And then I remembered that I had to do this. Anyone else for nominations? Anybody else? Otherwise, this will be a very simple vote. Very simple vote. Anyone else for nominations for the Chat Chosen Patreon-fueled Game of the Month? Growlancer 2, Little Big Adventure. What else we got? Anybody else? Should I last call this? I abstain on grounds. Any particular grounds? Or you just abstain? Heroes of Hammerwatch. Oh, there's a third one. Heroes of Hammerwatch, okay? Anyone else? Going once. Going twice. Level grounds, coffee grounds, grounds in general. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. Well, in that case, this is real simple because we don't need to have a vote for it. So it is a simple vote. All right. So these will be the 3. So these will be the choices for this month. Growlancer 2, Little Big Adventure, Heroes of Hammerwatch. I'm going to ask Jay, because Jay is the one who is here. I don't know if Dragon's here at the moment. I'm going to ask Jay to do me a favor, please, and put this in the straw poll, if you can do that, Jay, for me. Growlancer, Little Big Adventure, and Heroes of Hammerwatch. You know the way we do it. We put it together as a straw poll, and then we link it to next game. The next game thing you can do off stream if need be, but like at least we have to make sure that we put it up in the straw poll, which is hopefully accessible. So straw poll for which game I'm going to choose. The final vote on this will be held in 1 week, and then I will play it the week after that. So I'll be playing it on the 26th, or the 26th, I believe it is what we're looking at. So final vote 19th, last vote the 26th. While Jay is doing that, I do want to remind everybody as well about Arvanaut Idol 3. If you haven't already done so, you need to get me your short story submissions, and you need to do it pronto. Okay, you need to do it as fast as possible, please. The short story competition is going to be, you need to send me one that is 2 pages or shorter. You need to send me a short story that is 2 pages or shorter. That needs to be sent to me either via Discord private message, or it needs to be sent to me via Twitch private message, or you can send it to me at my email, which is arvanelleron@gmail.com. But that needs to be sent to me as soon as possible. Okay, so please make sure that you do that as quickly as you can. Is this straw poll connected though? Well, maybe, Echo. It depends on whether it might have. I mean, I don't know. I appreciate it, but I need to make sure that Jay's able to link that though. If Jay has done one, we'll do that one. If not, then we can use yours and link it. I appreciate the putting it together, but either way, but that's going to be, we're going to link that up to next game. So this is going to be, as I say, Arvanaut Idol 3 is going to be happening later this month. So you need to get me those entries. So please make sure that you get me those entries as soon as possible, so I can make sure that I have that going forward. You already have one and you're working on getting linked up. Awesome. Okay. So don't do Echo's one, although thank you, Echo, but don't do Echo's one. Do the one that Jay's done, because we're going to have that linked, and that way we can have that connected. So that would be cool. Thank you very much, Jay, for doing that. Growlancer 2, A Little Big Adventure, Heroes of Hammerwatch will be awesome. Good. That's good stuff. All right. But as for me, that is... Let's stop our bot here. As for me, that is going to do it for today. I'm going to go over to GOG now, and I'm going to be doing D&D with GOG Storm King's Thunder. And I'm going to be doing that for about 3 hours between roughly 4 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Eastern, so you should stop by for that. Then tomorrow morning, actually early, I am heading out for Origins. I'm going to be heading out for the convention in Columbus, Ohio, Origins in Columbus, Ohio, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to be doing talks and workshops and panels and readings and stuff like that. So you should definitely stop by if you were in the Columbus, Ohio area. Would love to meet all of you there. I may possibly check out games, and I might get 1 or 2. I mean, I don't know who buys games, who does that, but no. But I'm going to get one of those. I'm looking forward to that. And then I will be back at you folks probably either Friday or Saturday. I don't think I'm going to be streaming both days, but one of those 2 days I'm going to have ARVBox with me. So one of those 2 days I will stream, not the other day probably. And then of course next week we'll be back here as normal, right here for Adventures of Middle-earth at 12 p.m. 12 noon. And then of course over at GOG for Battletech, which is what I'll be doing next Tuesday. And then, of course, next week, we're looking at other things, including Arvanaut Idol semifinals and other playthroughs. We've got the post-mortem coming up still for Infinity and Beyond. We've still got, and the character creation for Curse of Strahd for them. We've also got the Arvocalist coming up, so we've got stuff happening as well. Origins is a convention. It is a conference, Convention Echo, which is held in Columbus, Ohio. It's kind of like Gen Con, but smaller. And so I've been doing it the last few years, so I'm a member of the Writers' Library there. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, I got to get out of here so I can get some food and get ready. I will see all you folks at the top of the hour at GOG. I want to thank everyone who made this a wonderful stream today. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Dragon Spear, J-Rab, of course, Tarry Tunes. Good job today, Tarry, as always, as a player. Thank you to Nonstop, Uncle Elias. Thank you to all my subs, Dragon, Jay, Nonstop, Uncle Elias, and all the Patreon supporters as well. Thank you to my regulars. Thank you to all Madden, Brahms, Commander Root, Day_, Echo, ECAG, Electrical Skateboard, and Counter Roleplay. Thanks so much, Will. Good job today. Thank you to Give Me Honey Now. Thank you to Gontarex, Harlequin. I don't think I've seen Give Me Honey Now or Gontarex. I hope you like what you saw and heard, and will follow and support the channel by checking out the YouTube, the Discord, the Twitter, and of course the Patreon and the shop and all that kind of good stuff if you can. Thank you so much. Thank you to Hunter and Wolf for stopping by. Thank you to Jagtress. Thank you to Costas. Thank you to Matman Gaming. Thank you to Questionable Results. Thank you to Shout Gamers, to Slow Cool, Streep, Thorazin, of course, Trendane. Great job today, Trend. Thank you to you, Christensen, and thank you to Valerian Gamer. You guys are all the best. Love you all. Best viewers on Twitch. And now I'm going to see you guys in about 22 minutes or so as I go get some food and then get ready for D&D Storm King's Thunder. That's it for me. Love you all. Until I talk to you next time, either here or over the weekend, live from Columbus, Ohio, on the road with the power of our bucks. I will see you all soon. Be good to each other. Talk to you soon. Have a good day.